Dr. Umar, man, happy to have you back on the platform, my guy.
Peace and Pan-Africanism, good brother. Glad to be back with you. Shout out to the whole podcast universe. Glad to be having this conversation with you once again from my birth city of Philadelphia.
Yes, indeed, man. How you living, man? I mean, nowadays, man, you a superstar out here, man. How you living, man?
Oh man, I'm just a scholar Pan-Africanist, my brother. I hate the word celebrity, as but I do appreciate the love that I get from the people as I travel from city to city, country to country, continent to continent. Definitely a lot of memories, a lot of love, a lot of support, a lot of appreciation. Of course, you get a few haters, you get a few detractors, but I'm okay with all of that. I just feel blessed enough that the Almighty has given me an opportunity, to fulfill this mission of mine of waking up our people and trying to unite our race.
Yes, indeed, man. That's what it's all about, man. I seen one video, bro, where you like walked into a room and they like reacted like it was like Michael Jackson in Japan or something, bro. It was like crazy. They just erupted.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Oakwood University. That's an HBCU in Huntsville, Alabama. And believe it or not, Art, I'm sure you're familiar with the Dred Scott case of 1857. Dred Scott was an enslaved African man who sued for his freedom when his master took him into a free state. And Supreme Court Chief Justice Roger B. Taney, who presided over that case, had ruled that the black man had no rights that white men were bound to respect. He said the founders of this country and the framers of the Constitution never intended for black people to be citizens of this country. And as such, we had no rights that could be upheld or protected in a court of law. Dred Scott was actually enslaved on the plantation on which now sits HBCU Oakwood University. So that HBCU art sits on a slave plantation, as many HBCUs do. They took the very place where our people were dehumanized and enslaved, and they transformed them into institutions of education and consciousness raising. I did not know that Dred Scott was enslaved on the premise or on the grounds where HBCU Oakwood University stands until after my lecture. So I'm only saying all that to say that that response that I received from the HBCU Oakwood University students, it may have had some ancestral power, some ancestral energy in there because I had no knowledge of Dred Scott having spent time there. And just another point of information about this story, Dred Scott was actually born in the same town as the prophet Nat Turner. Dred Scott and Nat Turner were both born in Druryville, Southampton County, Virginia. Both of them. And that is a Seventh day Adventist school art. So, a lot of our HBCUs were founded by churches, black churches. And the Seventh day Adventists, which is a white church, but they have a black arm, the Seventh day Adventists actually founded HBCU Oakwood University. So it's a religious institution. And they did get a lot of pushback from the Seventh day Adventist church, as well as Seventh day Adventist alumni for inviting me to the campus. But my position was, as it always is, I never go to an HBCU or PWI for that matter to go against what they represent. I speak in churches all the time. I never disrespect the church that I'm speaking in because I'm not anti-religion. I am anti the behavior of religious institutions, but I'm not anti religion. So there was no need for them to be fearful of my presence or my message. And I was grateful that in the aftermath of my speech, of the panel discussion, they saw that there was no need to be concerned about me anyway. It's amazing that when I visit HBCUs, more so than PWIs, I get more scrutiny from the HBCUs. And it's interesting because after all these years of going to HBCUs and PWIs, My question to them is, why are you afraid? Have you ever heard from any university? Have you ever heard from any college in this country or across the world that Dr. Umar came here and disrespected our campus, or he came here and disrespected our religion? I've never had negative feedback. I have never been uninvited from a campus after having presented. I've never received a letter or an email from any president, board of trustees, director of student activities, vice president of student affairs. I've never, ever, any college I've been to in the world, I've never received negative feedback about my visit after I left. It's always before I get there. But that's not the first time I received a welcome like that, Brother Art. I'm well received on college campuses everywhere I go. That one just so happened to be caught on film. My intros are usually not caught on film, but I've received that invitation before at other campuses. Now, the reception I received at HBCU Oakwood University was one of the more powerful ones, definitely top three. It might even be number one, but that's not the only time I received that type of energy. I'm probably, and there's no way of being able to determine this for certain, but I'm probably the most popular and probably the most requested Black lecturer or guest lecturer at the PWIs in the HBCUs. I don't know of anyone who's not a celebrity or a musician who is as requested to visit colleges and universities, PWIs or HBCUs, as I am. And I don't say that to brag. I just say that because a lot of times we make history, Art, and nobody records the history that we make. And so with me and the PWI campus and the HBCU campus, I think I've made some history that at some point in time will need to be documented.
Definitely got to be documented. But I want to ask you, man. I got a lot I want to ask you. It's a lot going on right now, man. Shannon Sharp, how you feel about him getting sued for 50 million by a 19-year-old white girl?
It's interesting, Art, because last week I was at FDMG Academy doing some walkthroughs with some potential floor contractors because we still have to get the floors covered up. The concrete where we remove the rugs, that has to be covered up with tile. And so I'm in Wilmington, Delaware, outside of the school, and all of a sudden my phone started going off. It started going off. I don't know if this was Monday or Tuesday, because Tony Busby, the attorney representing the alleged victim, Gabriella Zuniga, or should we call her Gabriella I Love to Sue Ninjas? But that case was entered into court Sunday, a week from yesterday. And so I think I was at the school on Monday. It must have been, Art, Monday or Tuesday. And so my phone is going off and I'm getting all these texts. Shannon Sharp has been Snow Bunny. Shannon Sharp has been Snow Bunny. Dr. Umar, Shannon is being accused of the unthinkable. And it bothered me because, as you know, me and Shannon Sharp have had some back and forths over the internet, never directly, but obviously me speaking to him and him speaking to me about, his position that he don't date black women and that he prefers Caucasians. And of course, being who I am, respecting all women, no matter what the color, but I believe black men need to be with black women. And given the fact that Sean Puffy Combs finds himself in a situation he's in, and R. Kelly finds himself in a situation he's in, and Bill Cosby finds himself in a situation he's in, and of course, Sean Carter freeing himself from false allegations that Tony Busby had lodged against him, you would think that in the aftermath of all of these sex assault cases that's going on, that Shannon Sharp or any black male celebrity for that matter will conduct themselves in a more responsible manner. So I'm not here to beat a man when he's down, obviously, because as I've made it clear on social media, okay, to the disappointment of many, I stand with Shannon Sharp. And I stand with Shannon Sharp, Art, for one reason and one reason only. And that is because what he did in having a relationship with a 19-year-old snow bunny is not illegal. And so dealing with the American court system, morals has no place in it. Morals have no place in American law. If it did, we would have never been enslaved. So in a court of law, it's about whether you broke the law. It's not about whether what you did was right or wrong. And so I'm standing with Shannon Sharp because I don't want to see his life destroyed like Puff, like Kelly, like they tried to do to Carter, like they've done to Cosby. I don't want to see this happen to another man. And because she was not legally a child, although too young for nearly all of us to feel comfortable with a man of his age dating her, it was not against the law for him to be with this 19-year-old. So what do we know about this situation? According to Gabriella Zuniga, she met Shannon Sharp at a gym in Los Angeles approximately 2 years ago, 2023. Now, Shannon alleges that he tried to present her with an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, which every celebrity should require from anyone they engage with. Well, guess what, Art? She decides she's not going to sign the NDA. That right there was a warning to Shannon Sharp that this 19-year-old who you shouldn't be dating anyway because of her age, because of her race, you need to end this. If she don't want to sign an NDA dating a celebrity, you know what that means. That means if this doesn't go her way, she's going to expose you. Shannon Sharp should have ended it right there. The problem was she fit his type. Obviously, Uncle Shay Shay, he likes Caucasian women, as we all know, and he likes them very skinny, which I didn't know. And the reason I'm saying that is the pictures that are floating around the internet on Gabrielle Asu Ninjas is the pictures of a very petite Caucasian woman who, not being disrespectful when I say this, appears to be built like a 13, 14, 15-year-old child. She doesn't appear to be developed like a woman. She doesn't appear to be a woman who's in childbearing age. There's no curves on that body. There's no lumps on that body. And according to her, allegedly, Shannon Sharp told her that if she would lose enough weight for him, he would buy her some artificial breasts. Now, that's very puzzling to me, Art, because she's already extra skinny, extra petite, no booty, no breasts, no nothing. Why would you want her to lose any more weight? So from that, we can gather that Shannon Sharp's type is an extra pale, extra skinny Caucasian. He definitely don't like them 5'5" thick in the thighs like Dr. Umar. He don't want butter almond. He don't want butter pecan. He don't want fudge, cinnamon, mahogany. He don't even want African vanilla, African butterscotch, African lemonade. He wants some pale and skinny. I want them brown chocolate and curvy. So anyway, they engage in this BDSM relationship. It appears that both of them allegedly are sadomasochistic. They are into BDSM behavior, bondage, domination, submission, and humiliation. That's what BDSM means. Now, some people are asking the question, Art, why didn't Shannon find someone a little older? Why didn't Shannon, with his money and his fame, find an older white woman or older black woman, even if you went with your 30s, even if you went with your 20s? Why didn't Shannon, with his money and fame, get a woman who was a little bit more mature? I'm going to tell you why I think he didn't get a woman who was a little bit more mature, Art. Number one, he's not interested in women who are a little bit more mature. But also, Art, you and I know that if you get you a sophisticated black woman, and I'm assuming it's the same for the Snow Bunny Mafia, but if you get you a sophisticated black woman, She ain't going to be doing all that freaked out stuff early on in the relationship. You're going to have to earn that if you get it at all. If you understand what I'm saying. Ain't no black woman I know, not no black woman of respect, whether she's a celebrity or regular working class sister with a 9 to 5 trying to make ends meet. She is not going to be engaging in BDSM behavior unless you put a ring on it. You're either going to put a ring on it or you're going to pay her up front. And it appears that in Shannon's relationship with Gabriella, he wasn't taking care of her financially, Art. It does not appear that he was taking care of the Snow Bunny financially. Because if he was, why are there texts of her asking him for $10,000? If you are a multi-millionaire celebrity, king of the black podcast amongst the celebrities, you on, News One, you're on First Take with Stephen A. Smith, you on ESPN, Fox used to be on Fox Sports, whatever the case may be, you got money. Why is your side piece, your jump off, why are you not taking care of her? He broke the first rule of being a player as a celebrity. You keep them happy so they don't destroy you. You keep them happy so they don't expose you. And he was not taking care of her financially. That was a big mistake. But she was okay with that, Art. Why? Because it appears that Gabriella allegedly was looking forward to having Shannon Sharpe's baby. She kept talking about getting pregnant. And then Uncle Shay Shay made another mistake because he says to her in the text message, if I still F with you around my birthday, if I still F with you around my birthday, you can remove the IUD. So Art, he's having unprotected sex with a 19-year-old OnlyFans model. Illegal? No. Stupid? Yes. But here's where it gets even more critical, Art. By telling her she can remove her IUD, if you still messing with her around your birthday, you're giving her false hope. You're giving her false hope. And what you're doing, Uncle Shannon Sharpe, is you're turning this from a transactional relationship with benefits, sex for cash, and you're turning this into a legitimate romance. When Shannon told her she can take out the IUD, which automatically implies it's okay for me to get pregnant now, you automatically led this woman into thinking she was going to have a long-term relationship with you that would involve a child. Now, you and I know, Art, that something psychologically and emotionally had to be wrong with her, because why is a 19-year-old OnlyFans Snow Bunny thinking she's going to get married to or have a baby with Shannon Sharpe? It don't make sense. Why would he give you a baby and have to walk around letting the world know I impregnated someone younger than my own daughters, almost old enough to be my granddaughter? He's not going to do that. For her to think he would tells you that she had the mind of a child. Wishful thinking, imaginary thinking, without a lot of common sense and logic. So let's go further, Art. This whole time she's telling Shannon, I want this big black baby. She says, I always wanted a black baby. Now, time out. Why does a 19-year-old Snow Bunny says she always wanted a black baby? You always wanted a black baby for what? Because you didn't want a black baby to raise it, because you're not black. Why would you want a black baby given the hell that black people suffer in this country? I believe she was trying to sweet talk him into the pregnancy. I believe she was trying to sweet talk him into the pregnancy. And then when she said, you better get used to it, she texted him, Art, and she said, you better get used to me, because once you put that big black baby in me, you ain't never getting rid of me. She said, you better get used to me, because after you put that big black baby in me, you ain't never getting rid of me. And I think that was the text message that scared Shannon Sharpe. When Shannon got that text message, when she said, after you put that big black baby in me, You ain't never getting rid of me. That's when he knew he was dealing with a psycho. And I think from that point forward, he start trying to separate, failing to realize that you didn't do this to no sister. You did this to a privileged white girl. OnlyFans model or not, she is a privileged white girl. What black men need to understand in America are that they still don't understand. It doesn't matter if the white woman is homeless. It doesn't matter if the white woman is strung out on drugs. It doesn't matter if the white woman is a prostitute. It doesn't matter if the Caucasian is an OnlyFans model. She is still a white woman in America. And if she accused you of doing wrong, you will be brought down and disgraced as if you were accused by Hillary Clinton herself. And so Shannon Sharpe, not recognizing the political implications of this private sexual relationship, he gave her the weapons that she could use to destroy him. So first it started with, put your black baby gravy in me. And first of all, Art, I don't want us to gloss over the fact that she is objectifying this black baby that she wants to have. Why not just say, I want your baby? Why not just say, I want a beautiful baby? Why not just say, I want Shannon Sharpe's baby? No, I want you to put a big black baby in me. She's almost calling him ugly. And she's almost calling the baby ugly too. But what I want black men to understand, not that black is ugly for us, Art, but black is ugly for them. And so what she's doing, she's objectifying this baby even before she's impregnated. And this is important because black men need to understand, Art, that white women don't like us. They fetishize us. White women don't like us. They fetishize us. And the problem with the Negro, the problem with the coon, the problem with these politically unconscious, sexually thirsty black male celebrities, Art, is they can't tell the difference between a white woman who favors you and a white woman who fetishizes you. White women don't favor black men. White women fetishize black men. So moving on, Art. Tony Busby is suing Shannon Sharpe in court, Las Vegas, Nevada, Clark County, for his client, Gabriella Zuniga Asunis, on 2 counts of civil violation. Number 1, he's being accused of intentional infliction of emotional distress. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. And number 2, he's being accused of 2 counts of sex assault. So you got intentional infliction of emotional distress and 2 counts of sex assault. Now, check this out, Art. Some people are asking the question whether or not I believe that the white power structure involved itself in this lawsuit. People are asking whether or not I believe the elites of the world put themselves or had some influence on this case. And I believe they did, Art. I'm going to tell you why. Gabriella allegedly told Shannon, let's back up. She sent Shannon a text, Art, and she said, I need $10,000. She sends Shannon a PayPal link for $10,000. Uncle Shay Shay says, I don't hit the Cash App. I got 10 grand for you when I see you. Gabriella says, I need it now. I'm broke. Uncle Shay Shay said, I'm not sending you no money electronically. 10K when I see you. So guess what she does, Art? Gabriella tells Shannon, take a picture of the 10,000 and text it to me. Guess what she was doing, Art? When she asked Shannon Sharpe to send her a picture of the $10,000, she was setting him up right then. She was setting him up with the 10K. What do I mean, Art? Prostitution is illegal in Clark County, Nevada. Prostitution is illegal in most states. So the reason she wanted Shannon Sharpe to send her a picture of the money so she could have him arrested for solicitation of prostitutions. She plays dirty, brother. She plays dirty. She was lining up her ducks already when she said, send me what black man you know, Art, going to send a 19-year-old OnlyFans snow bunny a picture of $10,000. You know what that looks like? It looks like I'm paying you for sex. That's prostitution. Puffy is being accused of that. R. Kelly was convicted of that. And the other thing she tried to get him on, Art, is the Mann Act. The Mann Act is a federal law that makes it illegal to transport women across state lines for purposes of sex. When Shannon Sharpe relocated to Las Vegas from Los Angeles, she followed him. When Shannon Sharpe relocated from California to Nevada, she followed him. If she could show that she was paid to cross state lines to have sex with this ex-NFL superstar, he could be accused of breaking federal law. See, the Mann Act, Art, was created in 1910. And guess why the federal government created the Mann Act? To try to incarcerate the first black heavyweight champion, Jack Johnson. Remember, Jack Johnson was our first popular snow bunny hopper, right? He was the first black man who openly, even before it was acceptable, openly ran around the world with white girls. And so the U.S. Congress, 2 years after he became heavyweight champion of the world, 2 years after Jack Johnson became heavyweight champion of the world, the U.S. Congress created the Mann Act. He became champion in 1907, 1908. They passed the Mann Act in 1910. And by the way, Art, the Mann Act is also known as the White Slave Traffic Act. The White Slave Traffic Act. So she tried to get Shannon Sharpe to send her a picture of the money, Art, so she could get him arrested for prostitution, state charge in Nevada, and so she could get him arrested on the Mann Act, the White Slave Traffic Act, federal crime. She was playing dirty. But Shannon didn't fall for it. So guess what she does? She decides, I'm going to record the next sex act that we have. And when I record the next sex act that we have, I'm going to engineer this, allegedly, I'm going to engineer this to make it look like he SA'd me. So Art, she tapes it, she videos it, and allegedly this video, the audio, has her telling him to stop. He allegedly doesn't stop. But guess what? When you listen to this, it sounds as if he could very well be continuing because she is a BDSM freak. If you are normally having aggressive sex, Art, if you are normally having bondage and domination in submissive sex, if you are having sadomasochistic sex, how do you know when it's sex and how do you know when it's assault? When does the sex stop and when does the assault begin? And it appears to me, Art, that she didn't have a problem with him sodomizing her. She had a problem with him not using a condom when he did it. But then my question becomes, if y'all were already having unprotected sex for nearly 2 years, why did you need him to wear a condom this time? I'll tell you why she needed him to wear a condom this time, Art, because she was setting him up, as he rightfully said, for the shakedown. For the shakedown. So first of all, Art, she wanted a baby out of Shannon because for a snow bunny dating a wealthy black man, a baby is financial insurance. For a snow bunny dating a successful black man, the mixed race baby, the big black baby, is my financial insurance. She thought Shannon Sharpe was into her until the infamous Instagram Live scandal. You remember that? When Shannon Sharpe was caught on tape banging out a snow bunny on Instagram Live. He claimed he didn't put the Instagram Live on. We will never know the story, but that ain't the point. The point, Art, is she was looking for a baby until Shannon cheated on her with the Instagram Live scandal. Everything changed after the Instagram Live, Art. Everything changed. She went from wanting to be a baby mama to being an extortionist. Because after that, it became all about the money. She told Shannon, she said, I know you missed this big, juicy booty. I don't know what booty she talking about, Art, because I didn't see no booty. I saw two pale, ashy, extra flat buttermilk biscuits. I don't know what booty she claiming she got. But anyway, she told Shannon, you have to pay me $25,000 for each one of my cheeks. 25K for the left cheek, 25K for the right cheek. Here's the problem with that, Art. If he only needed to pay you 50 grand for your flat cheeks, 50K, how did you end up at 50 million? Art, she said 25K for each cheek. That's only 50 grand. So how did we go from 0 to 100 in a couple weeks? You just wanted 50 grand. But your lawyer, Tony Busby, wants 50 million. Here's why I believe the power structure might be involved, Art. You are not going to convince me that a 19-year-old OnlyFans model, I don't care if she black, white, brown, yellow, or red, you are not going to convince me that if you offer a 19-year-old OnlyFans model who sells videos of her body for cash apps on the regular, she sells videos and pictures of her body on the internet for cash apps, and she gets offered $10 million to walk away when she only asks for 50 grand. Think about this, Art. She only asks for 50 grand. Shannon Sharp says, I'm going to give you 10 million to walk away. And she says no. Art, do you know of anybody on OnlyFans? Do you know of any 19-year-old teenager who, if offered 10 million to shut up and go away, when they only wanted 50 grand, do you know of any 19-year-old girl who is not going to take the 10 million?
Anybody taking 10 million?
Thank you. You on OnlyFans. You making money by selling your body, so you clearly not doing too well in these streets. You get offered 10 million and you turn it down? I believe the NFL power structure, or maybe the white media power structure, or maybe the white podcast power structure. Somebody was jealous of Shannon Sharp's upcoming $100 million contract. Somebody was jealous of Shannon Sharp's upcoming $100 million contract, and they intervened at the level of Tony Busby, or they intervened at the level of Gabriella Azu. One or the other. Because ain't no 19-year-old OnlyFans model turning down no 10K. Somebody wanted Shannon Sharp embarrassed. Somebody wanted Shannon Sharp humiliated. Somebody wanted Shannon Sharp's financial future destroyed. But Shannon Sharp made a big mistake, Art. He made the same mistake Sean Puffy Combs made. You know what that is? Offering too much money too soon. Remember when we had our last conversation, I said what? Puffy messed up when he offered Cassie that amount of money in less than 24 hours. It makes you look guilty. It makes you look guilty. Shannon Sharp offered the 19-year-old Snow Bunny $10 million. That was too much money and it was too soon. And where there's smoke, there's fire. So Tony Busby and the white power structure allegedly stepped in and said, if he can give you 10 that easy, if he can give you 10 that easy. Remember, Shannon was bragging when he was talking about how the Cat Williams interview made him more money than he ever made in the NFL. Remember that, Art?
I remember that.
So he's letting people know that the pockets is kind of heavy. So when he offered Gabriella Asu Ninjas $10 million, they said, oh, we can get a whole lot more than that. The shame of it all, Art, is we don't even know if Shannon going to get the $100 million contract now. I hope he does. I want what's best for my brother. I hope Shannon still gets his $100 million deal. It's hard out here for a black man. But Art, if they suing him for $50 million, what if he don't get the $100 million deal? Think about that. I don't know what he's worth. I don't pocket watch. But let's just say Shannon don't get it, and I hope he does. Knock on wood. But if Shannon don't get the 100 mil, Art, and the court award her 50 million, what if he don't even have 50 million? What if he don't even have 50 million? They would have been better, Art, and I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they showed their hand. But they would have been better off waiting until he got his contract. They would have been better off waiting until he had his contract so they could show that he got the money. But you coming in for a cash out before he's even signed the contract. Bad move on their part, but that was good luck for Shannon. Now, let me back up a little bit, Art. I got some questions for Tony Busby and Gabriella Zuniga. If I am Shannon Sharp's attorney, Lanny Davis, if I am Shannon Sharp's attorney, Lanny Davis, I got some questions, Art. Question number one, Gabriella Zuniga. You claim that Shannon Sharp was abusive and controlling for the entire 2-year relationship. If Shannon Sharp was abusive and controlling during the entire 2-year relationship, why did you pack up and follow him to Las Vegas from California? If he was abusing you in Los Angeles, don't you think he would also be abusing you in Las Vegas? So why did you follow an abusive man from one state to another? That don't make no sense. Question number two. Gabriella Zuniga, you claim that Shannon Sharp SA'd you twice. October of 2024, January of 2025. You claim allegedly he SA'd you October 2024, January 2025. If he SA'd you in October of 2024, why didn't you call the police? You mean to tell me you're a privileged white girl? You was just SA'd by one of the most popular former athletes in NFL history, and you don't call the police. You do not seek to take this man off the street. You are not fearful that he might not try to do this to you again. You don't tell the police at all that you were SA'd by this big, black, muscular athlete. That don't make any sense. All right, 5,000 black men were hanged in this country from emancipation of slavery to assassination of Malcolm X. 5,000 black men were hanged in this country from the emancipation of slavery to the assassination of Malcolm X. 1865 to 1965, over 5,000 black men hanged. Do you know why most of them were hanged? For being accused of having consensual sex or non-consensual sex with white girls. The biggest offense a black man can commit on American soil is to lay with a white woman, especially against her will. And so this 19-year-old white girl was SA'd by this 56-year-old celebrity, allegedly, and she don't call the police. Who in the hell wants to believe that? Because I don't. But I got another question for Gabriella Zuniga. Gabriella, so Shannon Sharp was abusing you for 2 years, but you followed him from one state to the next. He sexually assaulted you, allegedly. You don't call the police. And then 2 to 3 months later, Art, in January of 2025, he comes to your home bearing birthday gifts and Christmas gifts. He comes to your home bearing birthday gifts and Christmas gifts, and you telling me that this man who just SA'd you 2-3 months ago, you're going to let him back in your house for some Christmas gifts and birthday gifts, and according to her, he SA'd her a second time. Nobody on the planet Earth is going to convince me that a black man, celebrity, multi-millionaire, SA'd a 19-year-old. She don't call the police. 3 months later, she lets him back into the house because he has birthday gifts and Christmas gifts, and he SA's her again, Art, and she still doesn't call the police. Gabriella Zuniga, I got another question for you, young lady. These sex assaults that you allege against my client, Shannon Sharp, these sex assaults that you allege against my client, Shannon Sharp, have not run the statute of limitations. Have not run the statute of limitations. So why did you not seek to have him arrested and tried for sex assault and then take him to civil court for your money? O.J. Simpson was found innocent in criminal court, but O.J. Simpson was found liable in civil court. So, Gabriella, in the interest of protecting white women from sexually uncontrolled black men like Shannon Sharp, allegedly, and I'm being sarcastic on purpose here, why not turn him into the police, have him tried in court, arrested, taken off the street, and you can still get your thirsty ass lawyer, Tony Busby, to sue him in criminal court? Art, it makes no sense for her not to be pursuing charges in criminal court. You were SA'd twice by a black male celebrity and you don't want no criminal justice. You only want financial justice. Art, this is a shakedown. And I do agree that Shannon Sharp was right when he went public and offered his 1 to 2 minute statement of innocence, because it would not have been to his benefit to let Gabriella sit behind a curtain, destroy his name and legacy this entire time, and nobody know who she is. I'm glad he said who she was. I'm glad he told the world that this was an OnlyFans model. I agree with what he did. It may not hold up in court, but it don't matter. You know why, Art? Because Shannon is going through 2 trials right now. Shannon is going through civil court with the white man and a court of public opinion with the black man, the black woman, the white man, and the white woman. And guess what? Guess which one of those are more critical, Art? The court of public opinion. Because in civil court, she's going to get paid and then life will go on for her. But if Shannon Sharp is convicted in the court of public opinion, and I hope he's not, I'm rooting for him. I hope he's not. This can destroy podcast deals. This can destroy his access to white space, because, you know, black celebrities love access to white space, parties and neighborhoods and events. They love that. So he could potentially lose out on the status of being a celebrity in the white world. Shannon has a lot to lose publicly, more so than the money she's going to get. Now, I don't think she's getting 50 million. They might give her the 10 million, Art, that he originally promised her. She might get the 10. They might give her a little less. But here's the question Shannon Sharp's lawyer got to answer, Art. Who do you want on Shannon Sharp's jury? Think about this. Who do you want on Shannon Sharp's jury? Do you want black women on that jury? I don't think so. Black women are tired of black men bunny hopping, and black women are not going to look kindly upon a 56-year-old dating and freaking out and completely sexually exploiting a 19-year-old. So I don't know if they want black women. I know they don't want no snow bunnies on that jury. If Shannon Sharp gets a jury full of snow bunnies, he is cooked. I know they don't want no white men on that jury. Why? Because you ain't got no business touching our women, let alone touching our teenagers. Legal or not, white men ain't feeling it. White women ain't feeling it. Black women ain't feeling it. That only leaves who are black men. You know what the problem is? I think black men will be Shannon Sharp's best option for the jury, for this civil suit. But you know what the problem with that is, Art? Guess what the problem with that is?
What's that?
In most states in America, you cannot serve on a jury if you have been convicted of a felony. Think about that, Art. In most states, and this is going to come up again when we talk about our young brother Carmelo Anthony later, but in most states, if you've been convicted, Art, of a felony, you cannot serve on a jury. And the only state that has no restrictions for ex-felons is the state of Maine. And Shannon Sharp ain't being tried in Maine. He's being tried in white-ass Nevada. So Shannon's lawyer, Lanny Davis, has his hands full. Because who do you want on your jury? You ain't safe with black women. You ain't safe with white women. You ain't safe with white men. The only people who might show you some sympathy are black men. But what are the chances you're going to have any black men on your jury in Clark County, Nevada? And you know, Art, some people are saying Shannon doesn't deserve any compassion or support because Cat Williams warned him. They said Cat Williams warned you to your face on your show that he don't trust white women and he's scared of them. Cat Williams said, I'm scared of snow bunnies. He said because a snow bunny can destroy you in 2 weekends. He prophesies Shannon Sharp scandal, Art. Cat Williams said a snow bunny can destroy you in 2 weekends. Well, guess what, Art? Yesterday was Sunday. Tony Busby filed the civil suit last Sunday. So Cat Williams was right. But guess what? It didn't take 2 weeks. It took 1.
It took 1.
Art, it has only been 7 days. It feels like 7 years. They have completely upended Shannon Sharp's life in 7 days. And then Monique, our beautiful African sister Monique, shout out to Baltimore. Monique told Shannon to his face, what, Art? She said, stop messing with them 26-year-olds. Stop messing with them 36-year-olds. Get you a woman your age. Get you a woman who will make you them smothered turkey wings, bake you some pies, and rub your feet. She said, you ain't got no business, Shannon, messing with them 26 and 36-year-olds. Monique and Kat's prophecy came to reality. I told Shannon Sharp, if you keep it up, they gonna get you. I told him, if you keep bunny hopping, they are going to get you. And now they got him. And to add to this, Art, some people are calling him a hypocrite because they said Shannon Sharp said that a man should date a woman who's half his age plus 7. Half his age plus 7. Well, he's 56. You know what that means? Half is 23. Plus 7 is 30. By his own account, Shannon Sharp should only be dating women who are 30 years of age or older. So how did you get a 19-year-old? And then when he had Donnell Rawlins on Club Shay Shay, he criticized Donnell Rawlins for dating a 22, 23-year-old. He said, Donnell, why didn't you date her mother? Why did you date her? Well, Shannon, your 19-year-old is a few years younger than Donnell's 22 or 23-year-old. So some people calling him a hypocrite. Look, I'm not dealing with all that. All I know is what he did is no worse than what Elvis Presley did, and they didn't hang Elvis Presley. Priscilla Presley, Art, said Elvis Presley had sex with her when she was 14 years old. So white America can't tell me nothing about Shannon Sharp. White America can't tell me nothing about Shannon Sharp. If Elvis Presley can sleep with a 14-year-old child, what's wrong with Shannon Sharp sleeping with a 19-year-old young lady? If Elvis Presley can sleep with a 14-year-old girl and still be considered a legend in the eyes of white America, one of their greatest heroes, if Elvis can do that with a 14-year-old girl, how can you cancel Shannon Sharp for being with a 19-year-old one? If you ain't holding the Roman Catholic Church accountable for those thousands of child rapes, how you going to hold Shannon Sharp accountable? If you're not going to hold Hugh Hefner accountable, he had 18, 19, and 20-year-olds all around the Playboy Mansion. No disrespect to him. By his own account, allegedly, he was being intimate with them, and he was much older than Shannon is. So why is it okay for Hugh Hefner to do it? Why is it okay for the priests of the Roman Catholic Church to do it? It's okay for Elvis Presley to do it, but it's a problem when Shannon Sharpe does it. I got an issue with that. I'm going to say this, Art, as I wrap up on this topic. Black men better get our lust under control. Because yesterday or a few days ago, you know what happened, Art? We had the NFL draft. 230 some odd athletes, mostly black males, were drafted into the NFL. Those black male athletes, these rookies, better be paying attention to the Shannon Sharpe case. Because I believe the white power structure is going to conduct a massive snow bunny hunt against black male celebrities. They're going to take them all down one by one with the pale vagina. If you are addicted to the white woman's vagina, you will be destroyed. Shannon Sharpe is showing you that right now. Look at Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods' ex-wife, Art, was a nanny. Initially, the media reported that she won $1 billion settlement. They were incorrect. Shannon Sharpe's ex-wife, Tiger Woods' ex-wife got a $100 million settlement. But Art, she was a nanny. She was the extra help. How do you go from extra help to $100 million? And then you got black men running around calling black women gold diggers. Do you know of any 19-year-old black woman on OnlyFans who's suing a black male athlete for $50 million? I don't know of any. Do you know of any, Art?
Nah.
Any 19-year-old black OnlyFans who's suing a black male celebrity for $50 million? I don't know of nobody. Do you know of any black nanny who has got $100 million from suing a black former athlete? No. Black women are not making this money off of black men. White women are doing this. This financial takedown of black athletes is almost exclusively a snow bunny situation. Keep black women's names out your mouth. Black queens forever, snow bunnies never.
How you feel about this situation with Shador Sanders, him getting drafted in the 5th round?
The Shador Sanders scandal, as I'm going to call it, not a scandal on his part, but a scandal on the racist NFL part, to me is a reminder to every black man in America. No matter how rich, no matter how wealthy, no matter how famous, you are still a ninja in this society. And you better never forget that. First of all, Shador Sanders was my favorite college football player for the past couple of years. He's probably going to be my second favorite football player behind Jalen Hurts. I even heard that the Eagles were interested in him. But I believe, allegedly, that the NFL owners got together. And I do believe, unlike my good brother Stephen A. Smith, and I do believe, unlike my good brother Stephen A. Smith, that NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, I believe, allegedly, was also involved in on this scandal to embarrass, humiliate, and sabotage both Deion Sanders and his son Shador on draft day. I believe that all 32 NFL team owners and their executives and NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, I believe they all came together in a KK Ku Klux Klan type of clandestine meeting, and they decided, allegedly, I believe, that they were going to embarrass, humiliate, and sabotage both Deion Sanders and his son Shador Sanders on draft day. Everybody who is anybody, Art, in the world of sports, whether you are amateur, novice, professional, expert, everyone had Shador Sanders being picked in the top 10. Nobody had him sliding out of the top 25. Nobody, anywhere, anyhow, had Shedeur Sanders out of the top 25. Most had him in the 10. Some people, like myself, had him in the top 3. Some had him as number 1. Because as you know, the quarterback position is one of the toughest positions to fill on any football team, let alone NFL. Travis Hunter goes twice. Congratulations to Travis. I'm happy for him. Cam Ward, University of Miami. He goes first. Congratulations to Cam Ward. I'm happy for that brother. Wish him the best. Him and Shedeur was really the toss-up for number 1. Who would be 1? Who would be 2? Him, Shedeur, and Travis were assumed to be the top 3 picks. However order they came, most people thought Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter. So we're watching the NFL draft. And by the way, everybody watched the draft to see where Shedeur was going. Cam Ward went 1. Travis went 2. The only person left, Art, to watch to see where they fell was who? Shedeur Sanders. So guess what? No team selected him in the first round. Even teams that needed a starting quarterback and teams that needed a good backup quarterback. Second round comes. No teams again. Third round comes. No teams again. Fourth round comes. No teams again. And then in the 5th round, Art, Shedeur Sanders, one of the easily top 5 best football players in college last year, the only quarterback, the only one last year, Art, to complete 80% of his passes, an FBS record. Shedeur Sanders was the only quarterback to complete 80% of his passes in the entire FBS, and he doesn't get selected until number 144. 144. He was at the bottom of the first half of all of those who were drafted. Out of 230-something draftees, Shedeur comes in at 144. Nobody can convince anybody that Shedeur was only the 144th best player in this year's draft. You know what this was, Art? This was the NFL plantation slave masters. This was the NFL's plantation slave masters coming together to remind Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, and Black America that you have no say-so here. You have no power here. And if you ever think that you are our equal, we will destroy you. Art, by sabotaging Shedeur and pushing him to the 5th round, they sabotaged his pay. They sabotaged his pay. A top 3 pick in the NFL draft is guaranteed, Art, usually to get a contract worth at least $40 million. Easily. Top 3 pick, $40 million or greater. Shedeur ends up number 144 of the 5th round. He may get a $4-5 million pick. In the grand scheme of things, not a big deal, Art. Why? He already has an NIL deal. His father just signed a nice contract. His brother Shiloh, I believe, is a walk-on at Tampa Bay. They're going to be all right. They're not hurting for money, but that's not the point, Art. They had no right to embarrass and humiliate and sabotage the Sanders family like the way that they did. Now, everybody knows I did not appreciate the way Deion Sanders left Jackson State. Everybody knows I did not appreciate the way Deion Sanders left HBCU Jackson State. But that's in the past now. We can't do nothing about it. I stand in solidarity with the Sanders family over this because this is wrong. And whether it's Shannon Sharp or Carmelo Anthony or Shedeur Sanders, an attack on any black man is an attack on every black man. This was wrong. And I'm hoping that Deion and Shedeur will sue the NFL for racial discrimination and collusion against Shador on draft day. This ain't the end of this, Art. They need to sue. Do not let this go, Dion. Do not let this go, Shador. Do not let this go. Because guess what, Art? What better karma could Shador get from this than to sue the NFL and get all $40+ million back that they robbed from him on draft day? Think about it, Art. If he sues and wins, he will get all of the $40+ million they robbed from him on draft day, plus a whole lot more. And he can change the rules to make sure this never happens again. I know he don't want to do that. I know Deion Sanders is not the activist athlete that Muhammad Ali or Colin Kaepernick were. I understand that. But Deion, you might got to go R.B.G. on this one. You might got to go straight Black Panther on this one, because what they did to your son was unacceptable. And Deion was quoted. Somebody said, maybe this was God's will or something to that effect. And Deion Sanders said, this wasn't God. This was nothing but the devil. This wasn't God. This was nothing but the devil. And Deion is right. So why did they do this, Art? Why did the NFL plantation do this? Because the slave masters felt like they needed to remind the slaves who's in charge of the plantation. See, let's understand something, Art. Deion Sanders is the greatest defensive back in NFL history. He's one of the greatest athletes America has ever seen. Deion Sanders is the only human being to ever play in a World Series and a Super Bowl. Let me say that again. Deion Sanders is the only human being that I'm aware of to have played in the World Series of baseball and the Super Bowl of the NFL. He won 2 rings. He won one of those rings for the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. And yet the owner of the Dallas Cowboys didn't see fit to speak up and speak out about one of his players, former players, who won him a Super Bowl. But that's neither here or there. This shows Black America, Art, that white folks always stick together when they feel like their power is threatened. See, they never got a chance. They never got a chance to punish Deion as a player. Deion was his own man. He said how he felt. He did what he wanted to do. He survived the plantation. And then he got the audacity to end up at the University of Colorado, which I didn't support and really don't now, but I want him to be successful because what has happened has happened. But he's at the University of Colorado, takes them to a winning record in a bowl game in 2 years. He signs a new contract that's worth more than what a lot of coaches are making in the NFL. And as a college team, not even a top 10 team, Deion Sanders is getting more media coverage and game day coverage than NFL teams. They hate Deion. They don't like Deion. And they wanted to humble Deion. But what was so sad and classless about this, Art? What was so sad and classless about this, Art? They did it through his son. This wasn't about Shador. This was about Deion. This wasn't about Shador. This was about Deion. This was about showing Shador, Shiloh, and the entire Black America who loves Deion Sanders. This was about showing the slaves who runs this plantation. And they did it in such demonic form, diabolical form, and they didn't stop there, Art. They had the audacity to let the son of the defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons, a team that Deion Sanders helped put on the map. Look at this. They let the son, the 21-year-old son of the defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons, an NFL team that Deion helped to make popular, and his son prank called Shador on draft day. How disgusting is that? And then the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons and the Atlanta Falcons organization, they apologize, right? But I ain't heard nothing about no punishment, Art. I don't give a damn about no apologies from white folks. I don't give a damn about no apologies from white folks. What is the punishment for the Atlanta Falcons for letting that happen? What is the punishment for the defensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons for letting that happen? And what is the punishment for that boy? Because, Art, you're not going to convince me that that boy didn't tell a lie when he said, allegedly, I saw the phone number on my father's iPad. I saw Shedeur Sanders' phone number on my father's iPad, and I wrote it down and did the prank call. So you mean to tell me you didn't get permission from your father to take Shedeur's number? You mean to tell me your father didn't know you took Shedeur's number? Shedeur said, Art, that was a new phone. Shedeur said, I just got the phone. He only had the phone for 1 or 2 days, maybe 3. How in the hell did you get the new number in 3 days? Your father gave it to you. Your father gave it to you. But your father don't want to get in trouble because he works for the NFL and you don't work for the NFL. So it only makes sense to blame you. And now to cover the story up, Art, now they're saying other players were prank called. Now they're saying white player. You know why they saying that, Art? Because they don't want this to look like what it is. They saying that, Art, because they don't want this to look like the racist attack that it is on the Sanders family. That's what this was about. Ain't nobody else get no prank call. This was for Shedeur. But y'all have to make it look like it was draft wide so it doesn't look like racial discrimination. I hope they sue, Art. And then on top of that, damage control. Damage control. Now they got executives from the different NFL teams, Art. Now they got executives, Art, from the different NFL teams saying, well, reports are coming out. Reports are coming out that Shedeur Sanders didn't do well during his interview. They said he kind of finessed the interview. They said that if he wasn't interested in the team, he didn't even act like he wanted to answer their questions. I don't believe that at all, Art. All of that is made up. Stop lying, white people. Stop lying, black people. This was an outright attack on Deion Sanders for being unapologetic, for being confident, for being proud, for being a self-made man, or for training his son to do the same. In the NFL, Art, they don't like players who come from two-parent homes. They don't like players with strong fathers in their life. Now, LeVar Ball was a big mouth. LeVar Ball was braggadocious, but LeVar Ball was a proud father who cared about his sons, and so they attacked him. Deion Sanders is a proud father who cared about his son. They don't want you to have no daddy. They want you to view your coach as your dad. They want you to be like any other slave on the plantation, emotionally dependent on your white daddy, psychologically dependent on your white daddy, and financially dependent on your white daddy. They don't like athletes with strong black fathers, and Deion Sanders just isn't a strong black father, Art. He's one of the greatest to ever do it and is a coach now himself. That made these white men insecure. That made these white men jealous. They hate Deion for being confident. This ain't about being cocky. This is about being confident. What is the original sin of the black man in white America? To be more confident in yourself than a Caucasian is in himself. Black men who are more confident in themselves than white men are in their own selves are considered a threat. Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders were a threat to the NFL power structure, and so they sabotaged that boy. And you know another reason why they did this, Art? Not only to mess with his money, not only to embarrass his father, but they also did this to keep everybody tuned into the draft day after day after day. Let me ask you a question, Art. How many people you think watching the NFL draft after Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, and Shedeur Sanders are drafted number 1, 2, and 3? How many people you think still watching the draft after that? Nobody. They're going to turn on the NBA playoffs, right? So guess what? This was two birds with one stone, Art. This was two birds with one stone. We're going to humiliate Dion. We're going to humiliate his son. And guess what? We're going to keep the whole world tuned into draft day because everybody wants to see where Shador lands. They used Shador, Art. They used him as a pawn for media ratings to make money off Shador and then have the audacity to turn around and not even pay Shador the money he's worth. How dare you use that boy to keep everybody tuned into the draft? How dare you use that boy to keep everybody tuned into their TV watching the NFL draft and then rob him of his financial payday? I hope Dion and Shador sues. Whether they do it now, whether they do it tomorrow, they need to sue. Pay them back, Shador. And if that means you got to go and be the quarterback coach for your father at Colorado, and I know how much he wants to play in the NFL, but I believe he can win the lawsuit and still play, Art. See, when they talk about Dion being arrogant and talking about where his sons ain't going to play and he going to control where his sons go, time out. Archie Manning did the same thing, Art. Archie Manning, Peyton and Eli's father did the same thing. Archie Manning talked about where his sons, he ain't really want his sons to go. Peyton Manning talked about the teams he would rather play for. So why was it okay for Archie Manning, the white man, to direct his son's NFL destiny? Why was it okay for Archie Manning, the white man, to control Peyton and Eli's destiny in the NFL? But now you have a black man, Coach Prime, doing the same thing Archie Manning did, and now it's a problem. Now it's a threat. Whenever a black man is confident, he's considered cocky. Whenever a black man is confident, he's considered arrogant. And this stunt that they pulled on Dion and Shador Sanders is just a reminder to black people that we don't matter. They are the slave masters, and they're going to do whatever they feel like doing. And then Donald Trump tweets out that the NFL owners are stupid for not drafting Shador. He was right, President Trump. But did you call Roger Goodell and say, Roger Goodell, if y'all don't fix this draft and fix it quick, the United States Department of Justice is going to be investigating the NFL for collusion and racial discrimination against the Sanders family on draft day. Do you feel me, Art? Donald Trump, if you are such a big Shador Sanders fan, Donald Trump, if you are such a big Shador Sanders fan, why didn't you pick up the phone and call Roger Goodell? Because you was at the Super Bowl, so you follow this situation. You made the tweet about Shador, so you follow this situation. Why didn't you pick up the phone and tell the NFL, y'all better fix this? Because if you don't, the United States Department of Justice is going to be investigating the NFL. People might go to jail behind this because you know you can go to jail behind this, Art. This ain't just no fine. What they did to Shador, that's prison time worthy. What they did to Dion on draft day, that's prison time worthy. And I hope to God that Dion and his son sues the NFL so they know we ain't nobody to F with. See, Art, Willie Lynch was a slave master who may not have existed, but the science of the Willie Lynch letter is 100% exact. And Willie Lynch was brought to the James River, Richmond, Virginia in 1712 to teach the slave masters how to control their slaves. After he told them about how to use blacks to work against each other, he then told them how to control blacks, and the number one weapon, Art, was fear. He said, get the biggest, meanest, most respected black man on your plantation. Bring him out in front of all the other blacks, Dion and Shador Sanders on draft day. Whip him, beat him, tar and feather him, humiliate him in front of the entire plantation of slaves. In front of the entire plantation of slaves. And if you beat him down enough, if you shame him enough on the plantation in front of all the other slaves, they won't look up to him no more. His woman won't look up to him no more. In fact, the woman, being so ashamed of what you did to the husband, will raise the son to not be a man, but to be a coward, so he never faces the same shame and humiliation as his father. Now, what they did on draft day is not going to affect Shador and Dion like that because they too strong. But the example of Willie Lynch, Art, this whole notion of white men, because they've done this all throughout history. They've done this all throughout history. Whenever you have a strong black personality that's respected by young black men, you got to make an example out of them in order to put the plantation back in check. I'm hoping Dion and Shador sues. Shador, hold your head. I do think God is going to bless you some way, somehow. You definitely got the talent. People talking about Tom Brady was drafted 199th or 98th, but Tom Brady did not come out of college the way Shador came out of college. But will Shador still shine? Of course he is. But that does not eliminate the fact that those white supremacists, those 32 owners, and NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell allegedly colluded this and engaged in racial discrimination. They broke the law, and I hope they are sued for it. Black power.
But why not embrace him though? I mean, he could do a lot for the league. He a big name, so he gonna bring a lot of money in.
White power. Confidence, Art. You're not supposed to be confident. Remember what I said. They want you emotionally dependent on them. They want you psychologically dependent on them. Your coach is supposed to be your metaphorical dad. Your coach is supposed to be your athletic father. Your coach is supposed to be your symbolic parent. They don't want no Dion in the middle. They don't want no LeVar Ball in the middle. They didn't mind Archie Manning because he had the complexion of protection. But they didn't want that. Shador coming into the NFL with his own money, his own brand, his own name, and a father who's a coach and one of the greatest to ever do it. They can't stand Deion. Deion Sanders ain't do nothing wrong but be proud to be Deion Sanders. Shador didn't do nothing wrong but be proud to be Shador. And now Shiloh had to fire his father from being his agent. Not that he fired him, but they had to separate because if he kept Deion on as his agent, they would sabotage his career. This was the NFL's humiliation ritual for the Sanders family, and I hope they sue their ass and throw it back in their face.
Well said, man. Gotta ask you about this Carmelo Anthony situation. How you feel about that?
Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony. Art, if you go back and take a look at the slave codes in all of the original 13 colonies, and if you look at the slave codes in any of the slave states of America, you will find that black men or women never had a right to defend themselves against a white assailant. You could not fight back against your slave master, nor could you fight back against any white person for any reason. If they rape you, you couldn't fight back. If they hit you, you couldn't fight back. If they steal from you, you couldn't fight back. If they tried to sell your child away illegally, you couldn't fight back. So we need to understand something. White America, going back to the plantation, white America has always felt, Art, that they have absolute jurisdiction over the black body. This goes back to slavery when they owned us. They owned us. Old habits die hard. And since you have a legacy in this country, a custom and a culture where black people don't even have the right to protect their own body, you get this situation that we are dealing with now with our 17-year-old brother down in Frisco, Texas, Carmelo Anthony. Now, first, white folks, when they heard about this situation, they automatically tried to paint him like a criminal, but that didn't work, Art, because He's a 3.73 GPA student. He's the captain of at least 2 sports teams. He has no prior criminal history. And then they said, well, he's just another little ghetto boy. That didn't work, Art. He comes from a 2-parent home where they work and they live in an affluent suburban part of Frisco, Texas. So the ghetto narrative that the media likes to paint on black men accused of physical violence did not work with Carmelo. So what do we know about this case? Carmelo Anthony was at a track meet. Some people claim it was a district track meet. Others claim it was a community track meet, but children from the district were there. I don't know for sure. It'll come out in court as to whether this was a school district track meet or whether this was a community track meet that simply included children from the school district. I don't know for sure. Then they say the weapon used in this self-defense act was a knife. Some people saying it was not a knife, but it was a tool that is used to clean cleats. We don't know. We will have to see when the case takes place in trial. However, Art, what we do know is it was raining that day at the track meet. It was raining. Carmelo wanted to escape the rain. And as you know, Art, when it's raining and you want to escape it, you'll run to the closest tent you can find. It don't matter if it's your school's tent. It don't matter if it's my school's tent. It don't matter if it's your team's tent. It don't matter if it's the other team's tent. I don't want to get soaking wet, so I'm going to go sit under a tent. I'm not bothering nobody. I'm minding my business. I'm just trying to keep dry. So then the 2 Hunter boys see him. Hunter and Austin. And they decide to approach and engage Carmelo. Now, the media is being dishonest about this situation, Art. The media is claiming that this was a 1-to-1 fisticuff between Hunter, okay, and Carmelo. I'm going to say between one of the brothers because I keep getting the names mixed up. I believe it was Hunter, and I do want to say rest in peace to him. My condolences to his father, his family. Nobody deserves to lose a child. Black, white, red, yellow, or brown, nobody deserves to lose a child, not at that age, regardless of whose fault it was. I'm sorry they lost their child. Condolences to the family. So R.I.P. Hunter comes and engages Carmelo with his brother Austin. Hunter and Austin tell Carmelo, you're under the wrong tent. Get from under the tent. Carmelo says, I'm just trying to stay dry or get dry. Leave me alone. Hunter, rest in peace, smacks the phone out of Carmelo's hand. He smacks the phone out of his hand, and the other brother, Austin, allegedly, goes to get his book bag. Now, Art, I want to put this in perspective for you, Art. Carmelo Anthony is 160 pounds. Rest in peace, Hunter is 225-pound football player. Hunter is nearly 60, 70 pounds heavier than Carmelo by himself. But he was not by himself, Art. Hunter was with his brother Austin. Austin is around Hunter's size as well. So what you have in this situation, Art, is a 160-pound skinny black boy minding his business. And here comes 2 racist white boys who decide that they're going to remove this black boy from their tent with force. So you got to ask yourself something, Art. If I'm a 160-pound black boy, 2 white boys in racist Texas, both of whom are 60 to 70 pounds heavier than me, they come to accost me physically, knock my phone out my hand, try to grab my bag, try to throw me out. The media is making you think it's only one. But guess what, Art? I've been text messaged by eyewitnesses. I have received text messages from eyewitnesses. And you know what they told me, Art? They said both brothers tried to jump Carmelo. Both brothers tried to jump Carmelo. This was not a one-on-one fight. It was 2-on-1, but Austin doesn't want to tell the truth because if he tells the truth, Art, that helps Carmelo to establish his right to stand his ground. In the state of Texas, Art, you have the right to stand your ground. You know what that means? That means you have no duty to flee when you are approached by somebody trying to harm you. In the state of Texas, you do not have to run. In the state of Texas, if somebody is approaching to harm you, you have no duty to run. And if you feel that your life or safety is in imminent danger, you have a right to defend yourself, to include using deadly force. So when you hear people say, why didn't he run? First of all, it was raining. So I assume the ground was wet. These two boys, troublemakers, respectfully, but they were troublemakers. They were athletes, so I'm sure they could run as well. But more than that, Art, Texas's stand your ground law did not require Carmelo to run. He had a right to stand and defend himself. And I'm going to say that if I am Carmelo Anthony's lawyer, I am arguing to the jury. My client felt that his safety was an imminent threat, that he felt he was about to be harmed by two football playing brothers, both of whom weighed 60 to 70 pounds more than him, and with a combined weight, Art, of nearly 500 pounds. A combined weight, these two brothers, Austin and Hunter, of nearly 500 pounds against this one skinny 160-pound black boy, Carmelo. Under those circumstances, Art, I believe that he had a right to stand his ground. If I'm 160 pounds and two football playing brothers with a combined weight of more than 400, nearly 500 pounds are coming to jump me, and I'm only 160 pounds, and I'll warn them, touch me again and see what happens. He's warning them, Art. He's warning them. I don't want no trouble. But if y'all think y'all going to hurt me and do damage to me, I'm going to do whatever I can to protect myself. And according to the law, Art, he was within his right to do so. I don't think he intended to kill the brother. I think he just intended to jab him so he would back off. But when you are afraid, when you are scared, when you are timid, when you are fighting for your life, Art, you will do anything. How many women have shot and killed domestically abusive husbands and didn't do it on purpose? How many women have shot and killed domestically abusive husbands, but they didn't do it on purpose? They did it out of fear that I need to act before he acts. And if I miss, I might die. He could have been beat to death that day, Art. Carmelo Anthony could have been beat to death that day, and instead he chose to stand his ground. So what's the problem then, Art? Why are white folks all up in arms over this? Y'all wasn't up in arms when Breonna Taylor got murdered. Y'all wasn't up in arms when Trayvon got murdered. Y'all wasn't up in arms with Freddie Gray or Philando Castile or Tamir Rice or Sandra Bland. Y'all wasn't up in arms with Amir Locke, Sonia Massey. All these black people murdered by police and so-called vigilante white people. Y'all didn't say nothing about them. Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines, Art. Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines, bought a rifle, crossed state lines, unalived two people, injured many others, and he went home free. No conviction. George Zimmerman pursued Trayvon Martin with a gun, shot him in cold blood. He went home. No conviction. Daniel Penny choked our brother Jordan Neely to death in a New York City subway. Daniel Penny choked Jordan Neely to death in a New York City subway, Art. no conviction. Daniel Penny pursued Jordan Neely. George Zimmerman pursued Trayvon Martin. Kyle Rittenhouse crossed state lines and pursued trouble, and they went home without a charge. Carmelo Anthony was sitting under a tent so he couldn't get wet. He was sitting under a tent so he couldn't get wet, and two racist white boys, rest in peace to Hunter, condolences to his family. But these two racist white boys thought they had a right to forcibly move this black boy from that space. White people have always felt that they had jurisdiction over the black body. It goes back to the plantation days, Art. The problem with this case is the stand your ground law was meant for white people to be used against black people. The stand your ground law was meant for white people to be used against black people. It was never intended for black people to use the stand your ground law to defend themselves against white people. And guess what, Art? White people don't care whether or not Carmelo is justified or not. They don't care. Even if it is proven that Carmelo acted in self-defense, and it will be, they don't care. The problem with white folks is in this country, black people do not have a right to defend themselves from Caucasians. This is a 400-year-old practice. This is a 400-year-old norm. This is a 400-year-old culture. This is a 400-year-old custom, Art. So he not in court fighting against the law. The law is on Carmelo's side. The problem is, the basic problem of this case in Frisco, Texas, Art, is a black boy valued his own life enough. A black boy valued his own life enough to take the life of a Caucasian in order to defend it. And in American history, you rarely come across black men, let alone a child, who valued his life enough and had courage enough to defend himself against two racists who were trying to harm him. And let me say this, Art. People are talking about why did he have a knife? He's a black man in Texas. Why wouldn't he have a knife? Are they crazy? If you black in America, Art, you better be carrying something. And check it out, Art. In Texas, guess what? It is perfectly legal to carry a knife in Texas as long as the blade doesn't exceed 5.5 inches. So if Carmelo Anthony had a knife on him, that doesn't make him a criminal. After all, isn't this Texas? Isn't this the state that prides itself on allowing its citizens to openly carry guns without no license to carry? So if this is a state that prides itself on allowing its citizens, Art, to openly carry guns, firearms, without a registered license to carry, how can you be upset with a 17-year-old black boy who carries a knife for self-protection? He had a right to have that knife. He was not breaking the law to have that knife because Texas law allows children even to carry knives as long as the blade doesn't exceed the 5.5. And the harassment and bullying against his family, Art, completely unacceptable. They threatening the family life. They threatening to harm their home. His father had to leave his job to stay home with his wife and children because white people driving by in cars, threatening their life. They are literally under siege. But you know what's so hypocritical about this, Art? White people have always told us what, Art? They say, wait until the courts have administered justice, and whatever the courts decide is the letter of the law. Don't they always tell us that this is a country of laws, that you don't take the law into your own hands? They told us that with George Floyd. They told us that with Breonna, Freddie Gray, Philando Castile, Alton Sterling, Amir Locke. Every time a black person is killed, we're supposed to sit down, hold our emotions, fold our hands, Art, and wait for for the racist criminal injustice system to run its course. Well, why aren't they doing the same thing with Carmelo? Why is his family being intimidated? Why are they being threatened? Why did his father have to take off of work? And then they accuse them of tapping into the GoFundMe money when they didn't even tap into the GoFundMe money. They lied and said they went and bought a big house. They already had a house. They lied and said they went out and bought a car. They already had a car. Why y'all lying on this black family? Y'all raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for the police killers of black people. Y'all raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions, for the white civilian killers of black people. If y'all can raise money for your killers, why can't we raise money for one of our children who had to take a life in order to defend his own? I stand with Carmelo Anthony. I stand with his family. I hope that God and the ancestors will bring justice to this situation. I hope Black Texas shows up and shows out at the Carmelo Anthony trial. We cannot let that family be alone. Every black person in Texas, every black person in America even needs to be at that Frisco County courthouse when this case is tried. We need to let America know you don't have a right to put your hands on us and not expect us to fight back. And you know what's the most ironic thing about this whole piece, Art? The most ironic thing about the Carmelo Anthony case,
What's that?
because Carmelo sacrificed and stood up for himself, the most ironic outcome, Art, of the Carmelo Anthony controversy is because that young man was courageous enough to defend his own life. And unfortunately, it resulted in the loss of life for his assailant, one of his assailants. Now, when white kids bully black kids, they're going to have to think twice now, Art. Carmelo Anthony should be honored, not for taking nobody's life. We don't honor death. We never do that. But for having the courage to stand up to two white bullies who are much bigger than him. Rest in peace to Hunter, who I believe lost his life. Because he had the courage to stand up to two bullies. Now, every black kid in America who's being bullied by white kids, those white kids are now going to think twice about what they're doing. Because if you keep it up, when you back somebody into a corner with fear and concern for their safety, it might not work out for you. And I can tell you, Art, as a certified school psychologist who works in schools, when white children bully black children, nothing is done about it. Let me say that again. I'm talking California to Pennsylvania. I'm talking Texas to Connecticut and everywhere in between. When white kids bully black kids, nothing is done about it. There is a white privilege in America's public schools. There's a white privilege in America's charter schools. There's a white privilege in America's independent schools. For all we know, and I'm not going to put this on them, but for all we know, Hunter and Austin could have a history of bullying black kids. And it finally caught up to them. And I don't say that to be insensitive, but white kids, just like white people, feel as though they have jurisdiction over the black body. And thanks to Carmelo Anthony, they will all have to think twice about that now. Black power.
Have you seen the movie Sinners? How you feel about it? I know a lot of people talking about it.
I give the movie Sinners an A++ grade. I want every African to go and see this movie, rush to the theaters, just like we did for Black Panther. From what I've learned, Art, this movie Sinners, produced by Ryan Coogler and his beautiful African queen, and of course starring our good brother Michael B. Jordan. Delroy Lindo is in there, one of my favorite actors. This movie Sinners is the first horror movie to get an A rating on certain movie review platforms. Some are saying it's the highest rated horror movie ever. And for it to be a black movie, I'm proud of that. The movie centers art, although it is a fictional movie, tells a very non-fictional truth. In this movie, you have the coming together of ancestral protection, demonic possession, the wages of sin equaling death, and the role of the chosen one. And I'm going to talk about the themes and try not to give too much of the movie away because you haven't seen it and many of your viewers may not have seen it. I've seen it twice already and I'm going to see it again. Now, I could appreciate this movie very much, Art, because I am an initiated priest of the ancestors. And there's a sister in the movie who was the love interest to one of the two twins, played by Michael B. Jordan, Smoke and Stack. And I don't remember who was Smoke and who was Stack, but there was a chocolate sister, beautiful queen who wore white. She was an ancestral priestess. And I only knew that because she had on an aleke, which is a neck chain with the colors of the ancestors. So she was an ancestral priestess. And so basically what's going on in this movie is it is discussing the life of a chosen one, chosen by God to come to earth to do a divine work through his music. Through his music. The problem is he had gotten mixed up with the wrong crowd, Smoke and Stack, and others. And rather than using his music to liberate and elevate, he uses his music for people to party as they are feeding into their lusts and their lower flesh. And so, Sammy, the chosen one, is an excellent guitar player. His father is a pastor of a church. Even though his father is a pastor, Art, he has the gift of divine sight. He can see his son's gift, but he can also see that his son doesn't know how to control that gift. That his son didn't have the spiritual discipline, Art, to protect his talent so evil forces wouldn't get a hold of it and manipulate it into his fall from divine favor. So in this movie, there are some evil Caucasian forces in this movie. Spirits of the left as compared to spirits of the right, which are the angels and the Loa, the Orisha, the Netters, so forth. And so what happens is because Smoke and Stack and Sammy the Chosen One are engaged in lower nature behavior by way of the nightclub that they opened up inside of an animal slaughterhouse owned by the KKK that they wasn't aware of. So anyhow, because they were operating on a low frequency, Art, they attracted low frequency energy, the Caucasian vampires. The vampires could have never found them except for their frequency. What Ryan Coogler was trying to get us to understand is that our behavior as African people is either raising our frequency closer to the Creator or lowering our frequency closer to the spirits of evil, some call the devil. And some of us don't even realize that when we're having fun and enjoying ourselves, we're playing right into the hands of the devil. And in this movie, it shows you how when you are in pain, when you need to relax. When you're looking for some pleasure or some joy, art, you start entertaining behaviors that lower your frequency. You want to go and do what when you're not feeling good? I want to go get something to drink. I want to go smoke. I want to go listen to some music. I want to go dance. And so in the nightclub, art, this movie shows you how the behavior in the nightclub is not much different than the behavior of demonic forces during their rituals. In the black nightclub or any nightclub, what do you have? You have people lusting with each other, people dancing lustily with each other. You got people getting drunk. You got people getting high. You got people engaging in gossip and low frequency speech. And you got people listening to music that is not divine. Those same ingredients are what the devil uses to lure people into his trap and separate you from your soul. Delroy Lindo in the movie art, he says, there are certain musicians. He was talking about Sammy because Sammy was a chosen one, chosen to use his music for good, but he allowed evil spirits to manipulate him into using his music for evil. And so Delroy Lindo says certain musicians are born, art, with such talent that their music has the ability to pierce the veil between this world and the other world. See, we don't understand how powerful music is, art. What does the Bible say? In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That is metaphorical symbolism, art, for the fact that everything created was created from sound and light. Everything in the universe comes from sound and light. So when you are a gifted musician, as Ryan Coogler was showing us in this movie, you either going to use your gift, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Prince, and all these greats, Donny Hathaway, and all these greats. You're going to use your music to serve the Lord, or you're going to use your music to serve the devil. It can't be both ways. And when you get involved in these demonic systems, the music industry in particular, you are lowering your frequency and you are giving the spirits that control that evil society the chance to come in and isolate your soul. Isolate your soul from your mind and your consciousness. The body is alive, but the spirit is owned by the devil. In the Bible, it talks about sometimes you entertain people and didn't even realize you were entertaining angels. Well, the reverse is also true, art. You can entertain people and not realize that you are entertaining the devil. And so Sammy's father wanted him to recognize that that guitar in his hand was an instrument of evil because of how he was allowing people to manipulate him into using it. And see, Smoke and Stack, the two brothers, they was engaged in so much criminal behavior, art. And the Bible says what? I'm not a Christian, but I'm using the Bible because most of your listeners can relate to it. The Bible says the wages of sin are death, spiritual death in this life. And so Smoke and Stack, by way of sin and always looking for money and making money by any means necessary, they invited those evil entities into their life, which ends up ultimately costing one of them their life. The movie was excellent because what it talks about at a very basic level, art, is the battle of good and evil, the good you see as well as the evil you can't see. It talks about how we share this world with unseen forces, righteous and unrighteous, benevolent and demonic, in that the devil is constantly trying to make you sign a contract with him. And the contract with the demonic forces, art, is real simple. Give me your talent. Give me your gift, no matter what it is. Comedy, acting, dance, sing. Give me your gift. And in exchange for your gift, marry your gift to the devil, and I will give you everlasting life on this earth. So all of us have to make a decision. Do I want eternal life on earth with the devil? Or do I want everlasting life in heaven with the Lord? And here's the thing, Art. In the movie, the vampires started to pray with Sammy. Sammy was praying and they started praying with him. Do you know what that meant? That was the demons telling Sammy, you praying don't mean nothing, because although you praying to God, you're using your gift for the devil. Although you're praying to God, you're using your gift for the devil. And the vampires kept begging Sammy. They said, we need your gift. We want to make music with you. They said, this world don't want you. This world has not given you an opportunity. Give your gift to us, the demons. And in exchange for your gift, we will give you eternal life on earth. See, Art, this is why Epstein had that plane with them kids. This pedophile movement, Art, is not just about being freaked out with babies. In demonic circles, they believe that sex with prepubescent virgin children extends your life on earth. They believe sodomizing prepubescent virgin boys extends your life on earth. They believe drinking the brain fluid of prepubescent children extends your life. These global elites, these heads of the white power structure, most of them have made deals with the devil. And part of their deal with the devil, Art, is to find all the chosen ones of the African race. Find all the chosen ones of the African race, the musicians who were chosen by God, the comedians who were chosen by God, the actors who were chosen by God, the priests who were chosen by God, the leaders who were chosen by God. Find the gifted Africans and bring them into the domain of the devil. And the sad thing about it, Art, just like in the movie, just like with Sammy, he was a chosen one who lost his calling. Why? Because he was convinced. Sammy was convinced that enjoying this life in the here and now would be more fulfilling and more pleasurable than enjoying life eternally with the Lord in heaven. Sinners is a must-see for all Black people.
Damn, yeah, I gotta go check that out, man. I'm gonna check that out tonight then.
No doubt. You'll love it, brother. It's about good and evil, chosen ones, demonic possession, ancestral veneration. Because here's the thing, Art. The ancestral priestess in the movie, the chocolate sister dressed in white, she was the only one who knew how to deal with the vampires. She was the only one who knew how to deal with the vampires. And that's important because although we got Christianity and we have Islam and we have the Hebrew faith, respect to all of them. But in African culture, our spirituality is so much older than those religions that we have some of us, not all of us, not me, but within the structure of African spirituality, continent wide and worldwide, we have the ability to deal with some of these demonic forces that our Muslim, Christian, and Hebrew brothers and sisters need in order to vindicate their soul. But because they've been so brainwashed against African spirituality, many of them will never tap into it. And it bothers me, Art, that some Christians are attacking the movie. We already know white people are attacking the movie. They jealous because Ryan Coogler passed over, I forget the name of that movie, that top white movie. Well, guess what? Minecraft. Sinners passed over Minecraft for the top movie in America. It made about $71 million globally. And even though he put out $90 million, he's going to make that over. Before the first month of this movie is done, he would have at least doubled that $91 million. So I'm very, very happy for Ryan Coogler and what he's done, but white people are trying to sabotage him because here we go again. Deion Sanders, they don't like to see a bold, proud black man step outside of the space white people put us in and do a horror movie under his terms, his way, and make history in the process. And the movie art is not anti-Christian. Christians need to see the movie. And for you Christians who are attacking this movie, calling it demonic, I want you to know that this is why a lot of black people don't mess with religion. Here's a brother, Ryan Coogler, putting out a black movie, black people, black cast, and you criticizing it because it doesn't line up with your personal religious beliefs. Do your children pledge allegiance to the flag? Because if your children pledge allegiance to the flag of America, that's demonic. Have you done anything about that? Do you still have white Jesus in your church and white Jesus in your home and white Jesus in your Bible? That's demonic because Jesus wasn't Caucasian. So stop being a hypocrite where you want to criticize Ryan Coogler's movie, but you'll tell your children to pledge allegiance to the flag of a racist country and you don't mind going to church with images of a white Jesus who never existed. Stop with the selective morality. It almost reminds me of Shannon Sharp art, where you got some sisters who say, I'm canceling Shannon Sharp. But you didn't cancel Roman Catholic Church. You didn't cancel Elvis Presley. You didn't cancel certain black men of importance in our history who slept with children who were underage. You didn't cancel them, but you want to cancel Shannon Sharp. You ain't cancel the killers of Breonna Taylor and Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown, but you want to cancel Shannon Sharp. Same thing with the Christian church. You want to pick on Ryan Coogler, but you want to pick on the enemies of African people. What are you doing for African people? That's the question. Stop worrying about this movie. Stop criticizing this movie. Go make your own movie then. And this is the problem with black religion. Most black religionists are narcissists. Religious narcissism art is a big problem in our community because we believe everybody got to believe what we believe. And if you don't believe what I believe, you're working with the devil. There's more devils in church than there are in society. Black power.
Yeah, that's real talk. But I gotta ask you about Kanye West, right? How you feel about him coming out, revealing that he gave his cousin fellatio until the age of 14?
Kanye West situation might be the only situation that gets more attention in the black community right now than Shannon Sharp. I did not see the tweet, but I heard about the tweet. Allegedly, Kanye West released a song about his cousin, which alleges to include lyrics that speaks to the fact that Kanye engaged in prepubescent same-sex incest, that he used to do things to his male cousin when they were children, and that the male cousin used to do things to him when they were children. And I think Kanye alleged something like he felt guilty because after he stopped with the same-sex incestuous behavior with the cousin, that the cousin made a bad decision or something happened to him in life, and Kanye kind of blamed himself. Don't quote me on the particulars there, but I want to say this. First of all, I can respect Kanye for being innocent and coming out. That's number one. I can respect him for admitting that this happened. The truth is, Art, speaking from a psychological standpoint, as someone who works with children, same-sex incestuous behavior is very common in young children. It is very common, black or white. And the reason same-sex incestuous behavior and non-incestuous, both in the family and with peers in the neighborhood, very prevalent in America. Why? We live in a sexually uncontrolled world. We live in a country that allows children to be indoctrinated with sex, sexual ideologies, Barack Obama has a lot to do with this because he pushed this thing into the public school and into the mainstream, especially when it comes to same sex propaganda. We live in a society where children no longer receive a filter. And what do we know about the child, Art? A child is, by nature, a child is curious. So if you let me hear sex, if you let me watch sex, if you let me sit in on adult conversations about sex, I am going to want to experience sex to see if it is what all the adults proclaim it to be. In other words, Art, if we are going to let our children be exposed to sexual content by sight, by sound, or by any other engagement, most of those children are going to experiment with it. And they are going to experiment on other children their age or younger. So adults are responsible for the child molestation taking place in our families and outside of our families because we are exposing our children to sexual intimacy before they are old enough and responsible enough to guard themselves against the advances of other people. I conducted my pre-doctoral internship, Art, in New Jersey under the State Department of Youth and Family Services. And the center, the residential boys center that I was assigned to, it specialized in teenage boys who were guilty of molesting incestuously cousins, younger sisters, and also children in the community who they were not related to. Nearly every boy who was there engaged in some sort of molestation in the family and outside of the family. And do you know what almost every child had in common, Art? What nearly every child had in common was they had all been exposed to sex early in life. Many were molested themselves, and most of them wanted to experiment with what it was they had been allowed to hear and see. We have to make sure we do not turn our children's eyes and ears into tools of the devil. And when you allow your child to see or hear sexual content early in life, as curious as they are, most of them will go on, unintentionally even, to become molesters of children. So I appreciate Kanye bringing it up because it is a big problem in our community that needs to be discussed. I'm not going to slander him. I'm not going to cancel him. He was a child who made mistakes as a child. And had he been properly supervised by the adults, this could have never happened.
How you feel about the comments he made about Jay-Z kids?
What exactly did he say?
He called his kids retarded.
He said it just like that.
Yeah, he wrote it on X.
That was wrong. Children are off limits. Kanye West owes Jay-Z and Beyonce. And of course, I'm a big Beyonce fan. Um, he owes the Carters an apology. Children are off limits. I'm sure he doesn't want anybody talking about his children. He shouldn't be talking about anyone else's children. That was absolutely wrong. And if he hasn't, he needs to apologize. Whether they accept it or not, that's something else. I know him and Jay-Z had some business deals that didn't go the way Kanye wanted them to go, understandably. But those beautiful children should be off limits. Leave kids alone. I know he's going through a lot of stress because he's not allowed to see his children. He's paying the highest child support payment in American history, $200,000 a year, and he's not even being able to see his children. So I understand that pain because I've been there. But don't talk about nobody kids, man. Kanye owes them an apology for that.
Yeah, hopefully he apologized. You seen that black KKK outfit he had on? That was crazy looking, man.
It is. But if we're going to be historically correct, Art, that outfit that the KKK wears, J.A. Rogers in 100 Amazing Facts About the Nigga, I think he deals with it. That outfit, if I'm not mistaken, was originally designed by black people and it was worn by a black religious order. They had it first well before the Klan, and that black religious order may have been in another country. I'm not sure if it was in America. So that idea was actually borrowed from the Klan. It wasn't theirs, and those robes were not used, from what I understand, for demonic or evil or racist purposes. It was a religious order that covered themselves up in white and black. And it was a black religious order that did that. So that was not the KKK's outfit. They appropriated it. But to your point, I don't think Kanye knows that history. I think Kanye is trying to appropriate the Ku Klux Klan's dress. And I don't know why a black man would want to do that unless he's trying to take the power from it. You know, I believe I'm a big believer in context. I'm a very big believer in context. So I need Kanye to give me a little bit more context about why he's wearing that KKK outfit.
Yeah, I gotta go watch that ASAP. I'm gonna go look at it tonight though, man. I'm gonna take your word for it and go check it out. But I want to ask you, right? You being from Philly, how you feel about the comments that Wallow made about black businesses?
Yes, sir. He's from Philly. I never met him. I don't know him personally. I did receive that clip. Several people sent it to me. They asked me what I thought about it. I didn't respond to anybody because I don't like to participate in gossip. Okay. I don't want my name in any gossip about anybody because I don't need to talk about nobody. I got enough going on in my own life. But here's what I would say to that. When I saw the clip, Art, and it was a pretty quick clip, this wasn't a long, drawn out, speech that he made. But the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the brother's clip is I said, I don't think he meant to say it like that. That's the first thing that crossed my mind. Again, I don't know the brother. But when I saw it, I said, I don't think he meant to say it like that. Like the first part of what he said, Art, most people would agree with. He said, listen, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said, whether you a black business or not, people want to be treated well. They want good food. They want a clean place. They want to be treated right. And I think we would all agree with that because I often talk about the customer service of black businesses. And a big reason why black people don't get more of the black dollar, in addition to our own self-hatred and love of white folks, is the fact that we don't treat our customers well. As you know, we were scammed and ripped off by several black contractors at the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy. However, despite that bad experience we had in renovating the the Marcus Garvey Elementary School, when we go across the street to renovate the Frederick Douglass High School, Art, we are still going to look for some black contractors because although those black contractors failed us, I believe we still have an obligation to at least try to find a black contractor to do the high school. Now, if we can't and we got to use Caucasians, so be it. But whenever possible, you should always try to support your own. So the first part of what the brother said, I think most people agreed. I think where people started to disagree with him and where I believe he didn't really mean to say the things the way he said it is when he said nobody cares about a black business. They don't care if your business is black or not. I think he said something to uh, the effect that that's just a hustle. And so that would offend a lot of black business owners, obviously, because we have some very old black businesses. We got new black businesses. Black businesses suffer a failure rate much greater than white people because black people would rather buy white than black. Black businesses don't get the funding anymore. And now that the United States Small Business Administration, Art, has gotten rid of DEI, that money that some black businesses used to tap into to get started up, they don't have it. So a lot of times a black business is not going to look as sharp as a white business because we don't have access to the capital. I don't think we should blame black business for that, nor do I believe that we should compare black businesses to white businesses, because if you do that, we're always going to lose because they get the access to capital that we don't. So again, I don't think the brother meant to come off like that. Did I disagree with them comments? Of course I did. I'm a big supporter of black businesses, but I don't think he really meant it like that. And I do expect him to clarify with the people, in the future. When he said, I spend my money wherever I choose to spend it, I'm not going to be hustled on no black shit. That was very offensive, but I could tell the brother was speaking passionately. Maybe he didn't quite mean it like that. I see why everybody was upset. But again, I'm going to give the brother the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully he will clarify it. But we should prioritize black businesses over white. My personal rule, Art, when I'm interacting with black businesses, I give them 3 opportunities before I take a break from them. I come the first time. If it wasn't right or if I was mistreated, I'm going to chalk that up. I'm still going to come back a second time. If it happens again, I'm going to come back a third time. If it happens the third time, I'm going to take a break, couple months, maybe a couple years, and I'm going to come on back. And the reason why I am so compassionate with black businesses, Art, is because I know a lot of our people, if they don't get the patronage at their business, they might be homeless. Our people are struggling. We got single mothers on the street. So I'm not expecting them to operate their business in the same way and to the same level as I would a non-black business, because a non-black business is going to get the funding we're not going to get. See, we got to understand, Art, there's a context to everything. There's a context to everything. Maybe the food was burnt because her babysitter didn't show up. You know what I'm saying? Maybe she opened up late because she had to get her son out of jail, right? Maybe they wasn't open this weekend because she was dealing with domestic abuse. Maybe she got a health problem. Maybe she battling cancer. Maybe she take care of her mother. Maybe she got a disabled child. Maybe he just got out of jail. Maybe he's struggling with his wife. You don't know what people go through, Art. So I believe we got to be compassionate towards each other, and that compassionate should extend to black businesses. I do think there should be a limit on it. I don't think nobody should allow themselves to be constantly taken advantage of by somebody just because they're a black business. But I do think there should be some compassion in there. And I would also say the more money you spend, the less patience you should have. Like when we renovated the school, you're talking about a lot of money, right? Tens of thousands of dollars. So if you don't get it right, I don't know if I can give you 3 strikes. I might can only give you 1 strike if I'm dealing with an automobile repair, if I'm dealing with a home purchase, if I'm dealing with a school renovation. That's different, Art. That's high level sales. But then I got to come back and say this. Didn't China just expose Prada, Gucci, and Louis Vuitton? According to the Chinese, allegedly, Prada, Gucci, and Louis Vuitton, brand names that we spend thousands of dollars for, they were getting them made in China for pennies, Art, sending it to America, and black people was buying that stuff up. So help me understand why I got a problem spending a little extra. And the brother didn't say this. This is me just speaking generally about black businesses. I'm not speaking on him anymore. But help me understand how some black people have a problem supporting black businesses, but here you are getting fleeced by Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and Prada, spending top dollar on Chinese knockoffs. And ain't nobody said nothing. So if you will let Prada, Louis Vuitton, and Gucci scam you on millions of dollars of expensive consumer goods, don't come to me complaining about no black business and what they can't do for you after the type of money we spend with these white folks. So my position, respect to the brother, I don't think he meant it that way. I think he's going to clear it up. But when I hear black people say, oh, he need to be canceled, did you cancel the police who killed our people? Did you cancel Donald Trump? Donald Trump was convicted of sex assault, and you still went out and voted for him to be president of the United States. Did you cancel him? I'm trying to understand how black people want to cancel people who say something we don't like. But you got Caucasians out here unaliving black people every day, and you don't cancel them. You even got black people out here forgiving white people for slavery. How the hell are you going to forgive white people for slavery and you want to cancel a brother because he misspoke about black businesses one time? We got to be a little bit more patient with each other. I support black businesses, And I don't rock with anybody who don't. Black power.
You heard about Obama coming out saying that he wouldn't get away with some of the stuff that Donald Trump is doing right now.
He's correct. Barack Obama was a token Negro, and he knows it. He would have never been able to do what Donald Trump did. Barack Obama was made president for two reasons: make the black community safe for homosexuality, and go into black Africa and make the resources safe for American corporate exploitation. That was it. He had a gay agenda and he had an African resource agenda, and that was it. That was it. Barack Obama built AFRICOM in Africa, African Command, U.S. military bases strategically placed throughout Africa where the resources are. And now we have a brother, a president in Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, along with President Chiani and President Goita of uh, Niger and Mali, respectively. They have built the Sahel Alliance, trying to make Africa free for African people. And now this House General Michael Langley, who's now the commander of AFRICOM, he's putting out misinformation about Ibrahim Traore, the number one Pan-Africanist in the world. I'm number two, but he's number one. And they're putting out misinformation about Ibrahim Traore, saying that he's using the gold of Burkina Faso, not for the benefit of his people, but for his own personal gain. Nothing could be further from the truth. Their brother wears the same kind of clothes every day, eats the same kind of food. He did not accept an increase on his pay when he became president of the country. Extremely humble, just like Thomas Sankara. I believe he might be the reincarnation of the great Pan-Africanist Thomas Sankara, who actually changed the name of that country to Burkina Faso, who was murdered by his own best friend over power. And so what I'm seeing from Ibrahim Traore and General Goita and General Chiani is exactly where Africa needs to go. Ibrahim Traore and those other two brothers, all three of them, the Trinity, they are the most important black men in the world right now, because what they're doing is creating a reality that could potentially reshape how the world operates on behalf of black people in years to come. But they got a lot of enemies, and they even have house Negroes in Africa working against them. So we got to keep them brothers, in their prayer. But that AFRICOM that they're going to try to use to overthrow our brothers in the Sahel, that was put there by Barack Obama. He made AFRICOM more popular than it had ever been before. And I do want to say this on the Donald Trump piece, Art. The DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency that he had Elon Musk running through. Donald Trump is going to go down in history, the evil racist that he is. He's going to go down in history for being the first president in American history who had the courage, Art, to expose federal corruption throughout the entire country and shut it down. No other president ever had the courage to expose federal corruption and shut it down. And he's not doing this for America. Donald Trump don't give a damn about America, neither did any other president. Donald Trump is doing this. This is called payback. This is called revenge. Donald Trump is getting his revenge against all the Republicans and all the Democrats, black or white, who did not vote for him and did not support him. He knows where all the money is being hustled. He knows where all the political patronage is taking place. He knows who's robbing Andy to pay Paul, and he's cutting all that money out. So, to be honest with you, if you are a white patriot of America, you love what Donald Trump is doing with Doge, because he's getting rid of all the governmental excess hustling and stealing is what he's doing. So if you a patriot, you love it. The problem is, Art, he's going too far for white people's comfort. He is taking jobs from white people who voted for him. But of course he don't care, because he can never be elected again. You see that. And he's also spitting in the face of every black person who voted for him. I didn't vote for nobody because nobody had anything for black people. And then he got the nerve now to be looking at, he brought back the aliens, what is it called? The aliens, what's the name of that act? The Aliens Sedition Act? I think it's the Alien Seditions Act or something to that point, that allows you to deport not just illegal aliens, Art, but citizens of the country who are committing crimes in the country. I'm telling you now, I talked about this before. Nobody wanted to listen to me. Donald Trump is going to make it safe for America to deport black felons into other countries. He's doing it right now. They are tired of incarcerating black people. They want to deport black people. I'm not talking about our African and Caribbean immigrant brothers and sisters. I'm not talking about our British and Canadian brothers and sisters. I'm not talking about our Central and South American brothers and sisters. I'm talking about homegrown, born in America Africans. They want to create a situation, Art, where they can deport black people. Why? Because they're running out of white people. And that's why Donald Trump has this new baby initiative where he wants to pay white women $5,000 and give them some tax breaks if they will reproduce, if they will procreate. So the way they want to make America great again is to make America white again, find a loophole in the law or create a new law that allows you to deport American Africans, pay white women to have more white Americans, and that way America can be white and great again. And the other thing, Art, the way that this man had Medgar Evers' face taken down from the military cemetery in Arlington, Virginia, disrespectful. He had Harriet Tubman's face taken off of another government website. Dr. King's removed from another. Complete disrespect. And now he's forcing them to rearrange the Smithsonian National African American Museum. He wants to shut that down. He's already forced to have some exhibits removed. How dare you, Donald Trump? And I hope you're watching. How dare you remove the history of the people who built the foundation of this country? We not only laid the foundation, Art, we built the walls and the roof. And you got the audacity to erase the African contribution from America when we were here before you and were enslaved before America was America. And he's doing all of this, Art. Why? To clean up America's image before her 250th birthday next year, July the 4th, 1776 to July the 4th, 2026, America will turn 250 years old, Art. And to help protect her fake, phony image, Donald Trump is eliminating Black history, DEI, and all historical reminders of American hypocrisy. He wants to go down in history as the most racist president that ever lived. That's going to be tough with George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson and Woodrow Wilson. He's going to have a hard time being the most racist president in American history. But I do think he will make top 5. And unfortunately for the Republicans, not because of black people, but because of all the white people who lost jobs, Art, I can almost guarantee you that the next president will probably be a Democrat because of what Donald Trump is doing to the infrastructure of the country. Getting rid of financial corruption is one thing. Getting rid of financial corruption in the federal government is one thing. But taking people's jobs, eliminating Black history, that's not going to get the Republicans a lot of votes the next time around. So good luck with that. Black power.
Gotta ask you about this upcoming Diddy trial that's coming up in a few days. I think it's coming up in about 4 or 5 days. How you feel about Cassie testifying against Diddy?
Yes, sir. First of all, it should be absolutely illegal for Cassie to testify against Diddy. When he paid her off, I believe there was an NDA involved in that situation. He was paying her off to shut up and go away. After all the money he paid her, after her signing an NDA, how can she then be brought back into court to testify against him? It reminds me of Bill Cosby. Some of those women who lied on Bill Cosby during his sex abuse cases had NDAs. And the court let them break the NDA. You never see this with a white man accused of the same. You never see this with a Caucasian accused of the same. His lawyer should do all that they can to fight against Cassie testifying. She wasn't sex trafficked. So why are you testifying in a sex trafficking case? He is not being charged with crimes against Cassie. He's being charged with crimes against other. Cassie was paid and dismissed. Why is she being brought back into court after taking that man's money and testifying against him? That right there is clearly an excessive and abusive use of the law. She should not be able to take the stand against that man. And I don't condone sex abuse. I don't condone sex assault. I don't condone sex trafficking. None of that. But at the same time, I stand for justice. In letting a woman who's already been paid off and signed the NDA to come into court and testify against me like y'all allowed in the Bill Cosby trial, absolutely unacceptable, absolutely wrong. I do not like it. As far as Puffy asking for his case to be delayed, I agree with that. Remember, one of his lawyers recused himself, okay, at least one of them. So he probably has, some new people on his legal team. They got to get reacclimated and get caught up with what's going on. And I saw nothing wrong with him asking for a 2-month delay. He's already in jail. Y'all didn't give him bail, which y'all also think is a violation of his constitutional rights. So he should have got the 8-week delay. But here we go again. Deion Sanders. We want to make an example out of Puff. And of course, Deion wasn't accused of what Puffy is being accused of, but we want to make an example out of Sean Puffy Combs. He was too confident. He was too big, and it was time for us to bring him down. See, one thing we need to understand, Art, the Carmelo Anthony case, the Shador Sanders situation, the Puffy Combs case, the Shannon Sharp case, they are all involving the same basic issue. And you know what that is? Black people need to stay in their place. Shannon Sharp, you ain't got no business sleeping with 19-year-old snow bunnies. Deion and Shador, you ain't got no business being confident and independent. Sean Puffy Combs, you ain't got no business being a multi-billionaire mogul suing a multi-billionaire liquor company. Bill Cosby, you ain't have no business trying to purchase a major broadcasting station. Carmelo Anthony, you have no business defending yourself against white people. We can do whatever we want to do with your people. In every instance of all these cases, Art, there is one common theme. Black people are forgetting who the slaves are and who the slave masters are. And we're going to remind you. Our job as a people is to rebel against the slave system, Art. But you can only do that if we working together. If we organize and unify, we can overthrow the entire slaveocracy.
And how you feel about him turning down his plea deal?
I would have turned down the plea deal too, Art. I would have turned it down. And the reason I would have turned it down, and again, I don't know Puff personally, never hung around the gentleman, but I'm having a hard time believing he's guilty of sex trafficking. I don't know about the racketeering. I've never been in the bad boy office. The only thing he's being charged with that I could see him being convicted of is the prostitution, payment for sex. That's it. The Mann Act, interstate prostitution. That is the only thing I can see him being convicted of. I do not see the sex trafficking. I do not see the sex abuse. All I see is that there's a possibility that Sean Puffy Combs may have paid men and or women to have sex with him or other men and or women. All I see is fee for sex. Beyond fee for sex, I'm not sure of the other charges. And if my assumptions are correct, I too, like Sean Combs, would take my day in trial. I'm not pleading out. I would have needed to know what that plea was in order for me to decide if he should have taken it or not. I'm still leaning towards no, The other issue too here, Art, is you got to realize if he takes a plea, you cannot revoke that plea later. In addition to that, if he takes the plea on the racketeering, Art, that means he's admitting that Bad Boy Incorporated was a criminal enterprise, which means the government is able to lay siege to everything he owned in the name of Bad Boy. The money, the buildings, the real estate, the catalogs. And I believe the biggest reason why he not pleading out, Art, is he don't want the government to confiscate his entire legacy and his entire company. So after he gets out, he will have absolutely nothing if he pleads out. So I think he has to roll the dice and see what happens.
Have you ever had any situations where they try to use a female to set you up? Because it seems like that's the easiest way to get to these dudes, man, by using a female, unfortunately.
I mean, they do, you know, I have grown to learn, although it was a painful lesson, Art. And I think most black men in the public eye, although I'm not rich and I don't consider myself famous, but I have grown to learn that when you get to this level of public notoriety, you become an object. You're no longer a person. And so I would say that I have noticed since 2015, so for the past 10 years, since my second Breakfast Club interview, thereabout, because that's when I really, really became the international personality that I am now. I would say I learned that women had began to objectify me. So Dr. Umar is not a person. He's a brand. He's a thing. You know, he's an activist. He's a scholar, but he's not a human being. And I had to come to grips with the fact that every woman you meet, every woman you text, every woman you take out on a date, just by virtue of you allowing them to share space and time with you, you have given them the ability, if they are a trifling female, you have given them the ability to fabricate a story, a lie, a narrative, or exaggerate the extent of the relationship that they had with you. So, for example, there was a female not too long ago who came out and blatantly lied. She was interested, at least she claimed to be, interested in doing some volunteer work at FDMG. I took her to lunch. We had a 1 hour conversation and a meal. And the next thing you know, she's all over the internet claiming that I told her my whole life story in 1 hour, that she knows everything about me, that she knew me for 3 years when I only ever saw her once in my life. And that's when we had the meal. You know, so when I see things like that, Art, it makes me back up off the queendom. And I kind of wonder, like, damn, how am I going to find my wives? And, you know, I get sisters who reach out to me and I communicate with them. And all you can do as a man, really, is you got to hope that the women you encounter have enough class and enough integrity to not try to make something out of nothing, because they will. Um, and some people have told me, and I might have to do this, but I don't want to, Art, because it sounds so impersonable. But I might have to start getting an NDA on any sister I take out to dinner. It's a shame you got to do that just for dinner, because they might exaggerate or fabricate as that sister did, you know? So it's a very tough road. So I can only imagine what it is for these millionaires. I can only imagine. And see, going back to Shannon Sharp, but not beating him up too much, I would have to ask Shannon Sharp, when that woman didn't sign the NDA, Uncle Shay Shay, why didn't you cut it off? And why are you texting her so explicitly without any protection for yourself? And even more than that, Art, Uncle Shay Shay, why are you letting her come to your home? Did you not hear about what happened to our brother, who was the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans who was unalived by his lover? The black quarterback.
Steve McNair.
Steve McNair, rest in peace. Shout out to Alcorn State, HBCU Alcorn State, where he went to school at. I spoke there a couple Black History Months ago. But Steve McNair art was set up by and unalived by his side chick. Shannon Sharp, you going to this woman's home? You letting her come to your home? Are you crazy, bruh? Do you know what these snow bunnies will do? You even got sisters out here setting brothers up or robbing them and getting them unalived. So my question to Uncle Shay Shay, why are you moving reckless like this, bro? You don't know who she had waiting for you in her apartment. You don't know what she might do in your home. You don't know who she gave your address to. Got to do better than that. We as black men got to get our lust under cover, Art. We got to get our lust under control, excuse me. And that's a big reason why I really appreciated Ryan Coogler Centers. Because that lust, if you don't control it, every time you engage in unrighteous behavior, your frequency drops. And when your frequency drops, you attract unbalanced entities. You attract demonic spirits. You attract evil beings, Art. Wherever your frequency is, that's what you attract. It's like digging into the earth. The animals you see on the surface of the earth are going to be different from the animals you see 5 feet under the earth. The animals you see 5 feet under the earth, they're going to be different from the animals you see 50 feet under the earth. The animals you see at the top of the water are not the animals you're going to see 200 feet under the water. The animals you see 200 feet underwater, you won't see at the ocean floor. It's the same thing in the spiritual world, Art. You got these demons and you got these demons. And if you keep messing around, just like the brother's father said on Sinners, he said, if you keep playing with the devil, sooner or later, the devil going to follow you home.
Yeah, that's a bar, man. But I gotta ask you about this white guy online going around claiming that you his dad. You know who I'm talking about?
I can't believe it, Art. So last night, I'm on TikTok. I go on TikTok every so often to show love to the sisters by posting a Dr. Umar voiceovers on my Instagram. And I come across this white guy. Nobody sent them to me, Art. I found him on TikTok. And I think he was being prankful. I think it was a prank. He claimed to be my son. He kind of read my bio, might have got it off Chat GPT because he got the school all wrong. He said Milford. I didn't go to Milford. I went to Millersville University. He said I went to Hahnemann. I started at Hahnemann, but I was only there like a month because I decided to go back to Millersville. So a lot of the facts, Art, he got them wrong. A lot of the facts, he got them wrong. But I just took it as a joke. The problem now is, since I posted it on my Instagram, Art, the YouTubian struggle streamer bottom feeders, they took it and they trying to make it a real thing. So they're trying to contact the Caucasian. They want to bring him on the show. They want to interview him. It was a joke, and I wasn't offended by it because it was a joke. But now they're trying to give it real life. It's not true. I've never had intercourse with a Caucasian. Excuse me. I've never had intercourse with a non-African woman in my life. So there's nothing to the story at all. And if there was any truth to it, Art, like I know, that his snow bunny mom would have been exposed me. Why wasn't she on the video? Where is the mom? Where is the woman I impregnated to make this young man? You feel me? So it's a joke. It's not true. I've never been with a non-African woman, but my haters are going to try to give this some feet. So let them have fun. They swear I mess with non-black women. Nobody believes it's possible for a black man to not touch anything but chocolate and butter almond and butter pecan. I don't have the Shannon Sharp disease. I don't like extra pale, extra skinny. I like colored sisters, African colored sisters, and I love curves. So you ain't got to worry about me bunny hopping at all. I want chocolate, caramel, butterscotch, rum raisin. Give me the queens. Black power.
How you feel about Anthony Edwards and that whole child support situation with him and his baby mom?
I like Anthony Edwards as a player. Uncle Shay Shay is definitely going to be wrong with Lakers in 5 because game 5 coming up and they down 3-1. So Uncle Shannon, you got to remix that pick, good brother. Hold your head up, Uncle Shay Shay. You're going to win this. Um, when I heard that he offered to pay all her child support up front, I didn't have a problem with that because you don't know what type of financial situation you're going to be in 18 years from now. He won't be in the league 18 years from now. But then they also said that he said he didn't want anything to do with his child. I'm not going to believe that. I'm not going to believe that because I've been accused of something similar, which was absolutely not true. I love both of my daughters. I'm sure he loves his children. I'm having a hard time believing that that man said he don't want anything to do with his baby. He might have said he don't want anything to do with her mother, but nothing to do with the baby. Somebody gonna have to give me proof. Nobody is ever going to convince me that a black man doesn't want to be in the life of the child unless you have some evidence that can't be refuted. I don't believe that. Until I see proof, I'm not one of these people who make you guilty until you prove yourself innocent. I do believe that you're innocent until proven guilty. Not because the American court system says it, but because that's African culture. You innocent until you proven guilty. So until I see otherwise, I'm not going to put that on Anthony Edwards. If it's true, that would make him a despicable human being, and that's why I don't believe it is true.
Yeah, I don't believe he'll do that, man. I'm with you on that. And Damon Wayans, you had an issue with his show getting canceled, right?
I think that was racism. When they canceled Damon Wayans' show with his son Papa Code, a show about a heterosexual father and a heterosexual son, it wasn't sexy enough. It wasn't zesty enough for where America wants to take the black family. Remember, most shows now are interracial or same sex. Most commercials, interracial or same sex. They don't want to popularize black men raising their black sons. Look what Deion Sanders is going through with Shador. Look what LeVar Ball went through with his sons. They don't want to see no strong black men raising no strong black boys. So Damon Wayans' show, even though they're claiming that they canceled it because the ratings dipped, I'm not buying it. And the reason I'm not buying it, they canceled the show art around April the 22nd. He was on Club Shay Shay like April the 2nd or something like that. The show didn't get canceled until 3 weeks after he was on Club Shay Shay, which was a fantastic interview. I didn't see the whole thing, Art, but the clips that people sent me, Damon Wayans, I didn't know he was that articulate and that conscious as a black man, one of the most underrated comedians of all time. I didn't know he was that conscious. And he really laid it down. He spoke openly about racism and other things. And I think, here we go again, confident black man don't know his place. I think Damon Wayans might have said some things in his interview with Shannon Sharp that pissed off the gatekeepers of Hollywood and they canceled the show. That show was not canceled for ratings. That show was canceled because Damon Wayans, like Shador Sanders, don't know his place. This is all about the slave masters retaking control over the slave plantation. Look at the timing. They took him off 3 weeks after the Shannon Sharp interview. If y'all was going to cancel him, you could have been canceled him. Art, as you know, sometimes they cancel a show mid-season. I've seen them cancel shows mid-season. Why y'all didn't take him off mid-season? Y'all canceled him because y'all realized that he's really a black man. He not no house nigga. Damon Wayans is a black man. And I'm going to be honest with you, Art. I was pleasantly surprised to see that because Mo Money is one of my favorite pictures, Damon Wayans. And his picture with Bruce Willis, what's the name of that? The Last Boy Scout. That's one of my favorite. That might be my favorite action movie of all time outside of the Eddie Murphys with the, what was it, Beverly Hills Cop 2. You know what I mean? So Damon Wayans, you know, he one of my favorite actors, and to find out that brother conscious, I'm very pleasantly surprised to learn that.
Yeah, me too. I had no idea he was that conscious. But Jaden Daniels' mom, I know you want to speak on her, right? She be on it. She don't let no woman get close to her son.
I love Jaden Daniels' mom. I love Jaden Daniels' mom because her son is a multi-millionaire celebrity and athlete, one hell of a football player. I don't know if I've ever seen a rookie football player do what that young man has done. Tremendous athlete. A lot of people made a lot of talk about how she sat between him and Juju at that game and how she's always breaking up his conversations with women. I'm not completely against it because as we see with Shannon Sharp, as we see with so many others, that these snow bunnies are hunting black male celebrities. She can't afford her son to fall into that trap. Now, I haven't seen her with any snow bunnies. His mother seems like the type that she's not having that. I don't think she's going to tolerate the snow bunny crisis. And I do appreciate her letting these women know he got a mom in his life. So if you think you're going to take out a baby insurance policy on my son, it ain't going to happen. Having said that, I will say this. As he gets older, she's going to have to fall back a little bit. He's very young right now, but I think they probably need to have a conversation at some point where she starts to not be so publicly aggressive towards these women. And I mean, she's not disrespecting nobody, but she's going to have to develop enough trust in her son, Art, that he can navigate these social spaces on his own. And if he needs his mom to step into the equation, if you want me to meet one of these young women, if you're getting serious about one, you need to bring her to me. I think a lot of that art can be done behind closed doors. So I don't have a problem with it right now because he's such a young man. But as he gets older, it's going to look like she's emasculating her son. He don't want that. She don't want that. So my position is right now, she good. Next 2-3 years, she good. But beyond that, I think mama got to fall back a little bit and let her son be a man. He got to grow up at some time. You're not always going to be there. Once in a while, he's going to want some Cinnabons. He's going to want some peach cobbler. You're not going to be able to stop him. Talk to him. Tell him what it's about. Be there for him. But you won't be able to always publicly separate him from women who are interested. You're going to have to let your son be a man eventually. But I love the sister. I love that brother. Keep doing what you're doing, King. He's another one of my favorites. I don't want him distracted, but I also recognize how black women are often misrepresented as being excessively or overly domineering in the lives of men. And I don't want his mother to get that title. I'm sure she could care less. She's a strong, beautiful black woman. I'm sure she couldn't care less. I'm sure he couldn't care less. But for the optics, I don't want my brother looking like he can't handle his own business. And so, I'm sure they've had the conversation and I'm sure he's okay with it right now. But in about 2 more years, if that, she's going to have to fall back a little bit.
She don't got a man to tend to. I mean, she a attractive woman, so I mean, I'm sure she got to have a man, huh?
She probably does. She probably does. But she just want to make sure her son don't get trapped up. And she probably know things about him we don't know. You know what I mean? He might be a little thirsty. You know what I mean? So mama knows best. Nobody know you like your mama. So I'm going to trust in the queen right now. But Jaden, develop your self-control. You're going to need it, brother. You're going to need it. You don't want to be an early exit. We are rooting for you. I'm rooting for him, and I'm rooting for Jalen Hurts, although, Jalen Hurts is the hometown, so it is what it is. But I want him to be successful as well.
Dr. Umar, man, great interview, my man.
No doubt, bro. No doubt. Good looking out, Art. Good looking out, man.